Oh, I struggled with it too. I had to do one for the pod company.
Okay.
The sauna.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. They're like, we want you to do it for Father's Day coming up. And I just like threw something together and put it out there. But it's like almost 2 minutes long. Like no one's going to watch this whole thing. And they're like, add your link on it so, you can see. So that way people get 10% on discount and all that crazy stuff. And like after I did it and edited some of it, I was like, this sucks. And they're like, send us a copy of it so we can, tweak it, whatever. And then they're like, no, this is spot on. Great job. I'm like, whatever. You're just saying that. Because they send me the free products.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, make a video for it and all that. And Sonopod, they're paying me for it.
Yeah. If you had to guess how many companies you've done those ads for, what would you guess? Like the social media specifically, like when you're filming about a product, what would you say? Like
how many videos I've done?
Companies you've worked for.
How many companies wise?
Maybe you've done multiple for the same company, but like unique contracts.
Companies wise, probably 160, 170, somewhere around there.
Wow. In 4 years or 4.5 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I have a little over 510 UGCs.
Yeah, that's right, UGC. I had a lady on a couple months ago. She does UGC. Her name's Evie. Crazy story too. Like grew up, like ran away from home, started doing meth, found God, stopped doing that, and has 10 kids, was a missionary, and now she's doing UGC. And it seems like a very popular way to get out there if you're wanting to get into like the acting world or like.
It is, but it can also backfire on you too.
Okay, how's that?
Because if it's. I have met other actors who are like, no, I'm not doing that because my agent said if I do something like that, then it's kind of scaling it down, like your professionalism and all that. And it's like, well, not really. I don't know. I haven't had any issues with it. To be honest, I'm getting booked more for infomercials now because of it. People see the relatability and everything. That's why I have that's why I'm the spokesman or host for the Gormax Pro. We shot that in Chile. It's an international infomercial. And then I just finished one for another brand, in Ocala 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And
so what do you enjoy more, the infomercials or the UGC content?
When people are recording and editing for me, I love that.
Yeah. Because the UGC, you got to do it yourself, right?
Well, the benefits of UGC is you set up your phone. Your phone's recording everything. They send you the script, they send you the B-roll. You just go through the list. You're either relatable or you're playing a different character, when you just go, like, you have to go through the whole file. Sometimes it's like you agree to something and you're like, oh my gosh, it's the B-roll that kills you. That's the hard part.
Like trying to put it in the right spot or pick the right one?
No, B-roll is the actions.
Yeah.
So like I can go through a script, just face the camera and talk, hey, blah, 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 say that whatever the script is, most of the time I can get off chart or not start off chart or off book, but then I can use a teleprompter. But if your eyes are scaling, they go see that. So then you're reading straight down columns, so you can't track it. But like I said, once you do all the scripts, then you have to do your B-roll, and then you have to go through all those actions like waking up tired, having a hard time going to the restroom, or you don't have any energy, you're laying on the couch, or you're running, but then your knees hurt. And it's just like all these different actions to sell it, to be the visual for that product.
So you're filming the B-roll.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah, so I have drones that chase me and everything. That stuff's fun. I enjoy that. But it gets to the point where they're like, oh, we need 20 B-rolls with this script. And it's like, oh, Lord.
That's a lot of filming, right? And you're doing all of it yourself kind of wherever you're at.
Yeah. And then if they want you to go out in like public, or like I just filmed one for a deodorant brand where I had to go to Target and then Walmart and film their competitors, where they're selling them and then their product and all that stuff.
So it's not, now it's causing you to go somewhere else outside of your
So
location.
then that's when I just tell them, I was like, hey, it's going to be XYZ extra.
Yeah. And they probably pay it, right?
Oh, yeah. If they want you, they'll pay it.
Yeah. My friend Evie was telling me when the UGC she was doing was, and maybe it's the same for you, but she'll film all the stuff, and then the companies that she's worked for, which is probably a little bit more scaled back. I don't think she's done like 500 different shoots, probably less than 100, but she was telling me that she'll film all the stuff and then just send it to them and they edit it. Is that similar for you?
That's what they do.
Okay, you don't have to edit it yourself.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's nice.
No, if they want you to edit it, then usually I just tell them, it's a lot more.
Yeah,
but
because that's extra work.
But where I struggle with is like all the buttons, like putting in the buttons and all that stuff, and it's kind of like that I call it the ghetto, the ghetto footage I did for the Sonopod, you know, because they're like, add the discount code into it, but I don't know where to put it. They like, just add it to your bio, but I'm like, I put in the bio, but you still can't click on it.
There's some friction there on some of the systems.
I don't understand it. And then because then you go to Instagram and they're like, oh, well, you have to use a laptop. You can't use your phone. So I was like, okay, cool. Open up my laptop, go through all that footage, you know, or like downloading it to my laptop and everything. And then I'm watching YouTube videos, right?
Yeah,
because that's what anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you have to humble yourself. It's like, okay, if I'm watching YouTube video, then I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, then I watch the videos and it doesn't make sense because it's not verbatim of what they're saying. It looks like
there's differences in what you're watching and what they're asking you to do.
Yeah, because even on my business profile, because you have to have a business account for Instagram to put the buttons and stuff like that in, or to add action buttons. All mine was giving me is food options. I'm like, I have nothing about food.
So you're doing the Sonopod with that one.
Yeah. So that's what I say. I was like, well, can I add an action button to, you know, click on this link if you want 10% off so you can order one for yourself and see how amazing this product is. You know, that goes from 125 degrees to 185 degrees. Those jokers get hot.
Do you have one? Are you using it?
Yeah. They sent to the house.
I just started going to a gym nearby, and they have a sauna, and it's like I really like it. Like I don't have the portable one. I'm in like maybe a fixed one, but I just like the effects of it.
But the portable one is you set it up. It's like a zipper.
Yeah.
You know, you zip. It took me 15 minutes to set it up, and the benefit is that you can do it from your own house anytime you want.
That is nice.
You know, and that's what I was talking about in my video too. Like versus going to a sauna, you're stuck next to Joe Schmo who likes to hug a tree.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like
I saw that. Yeah.
It smells like BO.
Sometimes there's a little bit of a smell in there. That's a good point.
But that's why I started using the essential oils in there too, especially around flu season. And it
clears everything up.
Yeah. Huge difference.
So I guess needless to say, you definitely do enjoy more of the go to a film location and shoot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's less thinking for
work.
me. Yeah. I just show up, sell a product, or talk about certain things, and then that's it.
Well, I've seen some of your clips where you're like going through your script that you're learning for the commercial or the film shoot that you're working on. Like, is that, for me, I'm putting myself in your shoes. I would consider that maybe like a more difficult part, like having to learn
100%.
And like memorize all these words.
It's 100% rough.
Yeah. Like, tell me about that process.
Especially with someone who's like fights ADHD. You know, I mean, I was never diagnosed with it. And I even talked to my VA because I'm a Marine Corps veteran. Yeah. So I go to the VA every 6 months for my checkups and everything.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
No, someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
But when I was there last time, I was like, look, I think I have like bad ADHD. And she goes, Stephen, you're just getting old. It's like, I know that too. I see that in the mirror. Thanks. Yeah. But I was like, because I rabbit trail so bad. And I used to do it when I was a kid too. I would read stuff and I couldn't tell you what I read. You know, my parents were like, oh, you need glasses. So I remember getting the geeky bifocals.
Bifocals? Yeah.
Bifocals. Yeah. And then but they're like, oh, we'll get you some cool ones. So I got the polo ones. And I was like, I was reading stuff, but I didn't understand what I was reading. My eyes were scanning, but it wasn't registering with my brain.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating. So they sent me to a shrink. I loved her. She was super sweet. It was this old lady. She was in her house and she had like all these games set up. And I'll never forget this one exercise where she had a tennis ball strapped to the roof. And so it was like right in my forehead, right? And so I had to like bounce it with my forehead and recite what she was telling me back. And I was like, I was training my brain to focus, multitask and everything. And that's when I started learning how to memorize scripts easier. Sorry, rabbit trail or jumped a whole timeline there. But
you combine the memorization. I
realized, right? Yeah, I actually went back to that because I was like, oh yeah, I remember because she would teach me to be busy while I'm reciting certain things to keep my mind going and everything. So what I do when I have these huge scripts, I just got booked for another vertical next week, and they sent me the script, and it's like 58 pages.
Oh wow.
It's it's very overwhelming. And for people that get into acting, they realize very fast that it's like, okay, I can do this. And then you start seeing these scripts and it's kind of like, holy smokes. Because you can't just say the words; you got to bring them to life. That's why people want to watch you. They want to feel something.
The character.
That's why they watch. That's why they watch these films and movies and videos and everything, because they want to feel something. Just like your show.
Yeah.
People feel emotion, and if you can't bring these words to life, you're not. You might get kicked off the set.
Yeah.
You know. But I was gonna say. So what I started doing was I crop out all my script, just my own words, and then put it on a teleprompter. And so I just let them scale. And then I walk backwards on my treadmill while I'm reading them. So my mind is busy. I'm walking backwards, trying to focus on walking backwards while I'm reading it and reciting the lines. And it just started sticking. It was the weirdest thing, but I was kind of like, oh, okay.
So by doing that, like, I guess, complex act of walking backwards, it helps it like grab a hold in your head and you can remember the words versus just like sitting in a chair.
Like I have tried that too. I'll get my teleprompter and I'll set it up and I'll sit in my recliner. My brain is just like, it's too relaxed. You know, so I'm like, I'm reading the words, I'm reciting the lines, everything, and it just doesn't stick. So either I have to be standing up, you know, like really focused, or walking backwards on a treadmill, or I can walk forward too. But you know, I'm just saying, it's like just doing an action while I'm doing it. And I'll never forget, I heard someone say a while back that if you have, I think it was some famous actor was talking about, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, my dad would, or I think his dad told him is, if you can recite your lines while assorting cards, like putting cards back in the original like placement, like per book.
Okay.
While you're reciting your lines, then you got it. And so I was like, okay. Same thing. It's you're doing an action while you're saying your words. Just it's weird how it imprints on your brain faster.
No, that makes sense. I actually got diagnosed with ADHD last year.
Oh.
I was in the camp that you're in. Like, I think I might have it. I can't focus. I'm always interrupting people.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Have you actually tried any of these like gummies, like the mushroom gummies that say they're for like no more Adderall, but try this product?
I have not. Have you?
I tried it. They don't work.
They don't work. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's hit or miss. So I went to the shrink, right? This psychiatrist and did like a 2-hour exam. They're proctoring me, like putting like and it's like a 10-year-old would be doing this. You're putting blocks together.
Yep.
You're matching pictures. You're answering trivia questions, which was my favorite part. I love trivia. And just a bunch of different things. They give you like an IQ score at the end, and then they also give you a diagnosis if they feel like you have ADHD. So I got the diagnosis, and I told them I didn't want to take Adderall because I tested with it like in college, and it was like the emotional fall off was like, you at the end of the day, it's like you feel like a zombie. If you're taking the wrong dosage, maybe there's a right way to take it. But I was taking it and very focused and like locked into whatever I was doing, not getting distracted. And then by 4, 5, 6 p.m., I just turned into an emotional zombie. Like I have no feeling in my heart, in my mind. Everything is
But then once you're on it, you're dependent on it.
Yes.
And that's the hard part.
Yeah. So what I asked them was something alternative. They recommended Vyvanse, which is still a stimulant, but it's known in the stimulant world for having the least dramatic drop off at the end of the day.
Okay.
So I don't take it every day either. It's not, I don't need it to survive. It's like if it's almost for me, if I want to be like extra productive and extra focused, I'll take it. And it helps me.
You mean not working circles and walk over here? I'm like, wait, why do I walk over here?
Yeah, exactly. Why do I go in this room? Yeah.
I can't tell you, look, as a guy who owns a renovation business, there's been so many times where it's just me on a job site because my subs have done their things. And so now I'm in there like working on tile or something, and I'll start a niche. So I'm tiling a niche, whatever. And then I'm look over to the bench. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I already have this all set up for this angle. I'm going to go ahead and bake the bench. Then I'm like, dadgummit. I'll just like, then look back at the niche and I'm like, shoot.
Yeah, you
like
started something and then you stopped.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, I think the ADHD reputation that we get a lot of times is we're famous for starting, but we don't finish.
Yeah.
So the medicine I take it maybe 2-3 days a week, not every day. It's not something I'm dependent on. There have been weeks where I don't take it at all. I just kind of take it when I need it, and it helps me just like lock in, focus. I can walk in a room and not remember or not feel like, what did I come in here for?
Yeah.
It just helps. So I don't know, maybe next time you're VA, you could just ask like, hey, what is Vyvanse? If you haven't done the research, it could be.
I was there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it could be, something
And they're
that
all
helps.
focused on prostate and
Yeah, you're at that age.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where it
Yeah.
becomes
The
a-
prostate and then the colon.
Yeah.
Colon scans.
Yeah, my wife is works in GI as a provider. She's a physician assistant, and so I hear a lot about more than I would like about
Oh, yeah.
the colon in our household.
Yeah. Right.
But it's important to keep those things, in check.
Yeah. No, because my father-in-law just died a year ago from prostate cancer. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
And he was hiding it basically from us. And he got to the point where he was taking the pill instead of doing the radiation. And it was wild.
Yeah.
I mean, it metastasized to his bone marrow and all that stuff. So, and then it killed him.
Yeah, that's
So,
deadly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a lot more serious than people realize.
Yeah, and that's why it's good to get checked, especially when you hit that, like you get into your 40s, you get into your 50s. That's where you
And
really,
nowadays you can do blood work. You don't have to go and do the old finger tricks, and all that other stuff, or shove a camera.
Yeah.
Well, they still do that.
They do,
but
if you need it, right?
yeah, right. Yeah, if they have some stuff that's like questionable in your blood scans.
Yeah. So you mentioned the renovation business, and obviously you're an actor now. I guess tell me a little bit about your background, like growing up.
Or am I acting like a renovation guy?
Or are you acting like a renovation
Yeah,
guy? I guess give me like a snapshot. Like what was life like growing up as Stephen to get you all these years later into the life like where you're at now? Like how did you get here?
It was growing up the middle of 5 kids. My dad delivered me at home. And so my dad was a go-getter. He was a guy that taught me work ethic. He was an amazing dad for a while. And my dad was a great provider. He was a chemical engineer for an oil company. So he ran a oil rig off of Grand Isle,
That's in Louisiana, right?
off of New Orleans.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, he went from being a great dad to like a great provider to struggling because his oil rig flipped. He was a great man of faith. He would lead people to Christ and everything. And then when the oil rig flipped, he turned his back on God instead of focusing on. Yeah, it's a tragic moment, but now all those men are in heaven, for the rest of their life. Instead of focus on that, he just got mad at God and turned his back on God, stopped being the dad that he was, just became very distant. It's like, if you want to spend time with him, hey, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock to go fishing. If you're not awake, I'm leaving without you, that kind of stuff. And then he come back and be like, oh, look what I caught. You shouldn't have been lazy. Stuff like that, rub in your face. And then if you're playing sports, I played soccer, which he called, a girly sport. And so it just got to the point where he wouldn't go to my games or my practices and stuff. But I say all that because my dad taught me how to be a great dad, but the opposite direction, the opposite way. He taught me everything. He taught me what not to do to my kids, how not to talk to my kids. And when he was going through all these struggles and everything, like I said, we went from being very well off to food stamps, and to see my dad fall apart like that, to start delivering pizzas. Then he got pneumonia and bronchitis. I'll never forget. He got so sick that he was standing in the kitchen coughing over and over again. You could hear his ribs snapping. That's how hard he was coughing.
Wow.
And he'd lose his breath. And I'm like, Dad, we gotta go to the hospital. We gotta go to the doctor. He's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. He was just he was such a hard ass. He was so tough. And he was also the dad that, we had ingrown toenails. We'd get razor blades, cut all the way around him and rip them off of vice grips, because they were just hurting him.
Yeah. Tough.
Yeah. But the thing is that my dad was also very abusive. So there was many times where, kids deserve spankings, but not to a certain extent where I made my sister mad, whatever, and we were taking showers together because we're young. That's what young kids do.
Yeah, I did it with my siblings.
Yeah. And then when my little brother was born, it was like all 3 of us in the shower together, trying to like just all like confine water and all that stuff. But I remember my sister was crying and my dad came in there and goes, "What did you do?" And I was like, "Well, I just made her mad, whatever." And so I think I got some stuff on her, but, and I'll never forget, I had that gut feeling of like, oh, here it comes. and he took his belt off and like whipped me right there in the shower.
Wow.
Put stripes all over my back and my chest. And then and I guess I didn't realize how bad it was until 3 days later. I was at soccer practice playing shirts against skins.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I'll never forget Coach Gay, which if he's still alive, he was an amazing coach. But I loved him to death. His son played on our team too. And we were at, when I took my shirt off, he looked at me and he goes, "Stephen, come here." And I was like, "Yeah, coach." And he goes, "What was that?" And I was like, well, I got smacking because I made my dad mad, and I shouldn't have, you know. Anyways, I was trying to justify it, you know, because I was trying to protect my dad.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he squared up to my dad, you know, and I was just kind of like, wow, it was so cool. That's when I started seeing that maybe it's not normal,
Yeah.
you know, to go through that as a kid.
Yeah.
And then because I played a sport that was kind of feminine, like soccer.
To him.
Yeah, to him. Right,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Because he was a football jock. He did jiu-jitsu, football, and boxing in college and stuff. And so that's what, I mean, he played football all of his life, well, through college.
Yeah.
But he got to the point where I want to say it was his feelings of betrayal from God it manifested into anger and frustration because he felt like he lost everything that was wholesome and like providing for his family, which his work ethic was like nothing else I've ever seen in my life, because he would literally run himself in the ground. Like that's why he wouldn't go to the doctor when he was sick. It's because he wanted to provide for his family. And he knew how embarrassing it was for my mom to bust out her coupon book with food stamps after being in the family that had a lot of money, or not a lot of money, but was well off.
Yeah.
And then my dad, it hurt his pride, you know. And it's not just a saying, pride comes before a fall, because he was crazy prideful when it came to what he had in life at times. But sorry, I'm rabbit trailing.
No, it's good.
I was gonna say, but he had he wasn't an emotional guy. He wasn't in tune with his emotions.
Emotionally available.
Emotionally available. There we go. Yeah. Like he didn't tell you he loved you as a kid. He would just say, "Hey, let's go spend time together." But if you want to spend time, it was either hunting or fishing
At 5 a.m.
Yeah,
on his terms.
Absolutely, yeah. And my sisters would tell you the same thing. They're like, "Oh yeah, if you want to go spend time with dad, you got to either go hunting or fishing," you know. But it did get better when my little brother came around. I think I want to say like 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
So my dad would get so mad, and he didn't know how to deal with it when he and my mom were fighting over soccer, who's going to bring me to soccer, and like on Saturday mornings and everything. And there's multiple times where I'd wake up and have a pistol in my face, and I'd be like, "Huh?" And he would just say, "You'd be so easy to kill." And I was like, what did I? And then I'd debate. It's like, well, should I stop playing soccer? Is that what this is about? And he would never tell me. That was all he's saying. And then he would just walk out of the room, and then I just roll over and bawl. I'd just cry, you know. And then I would hear them every now and then. I'd hear my mom and dad fighting over, you know, soccer and all that stuff. And then, oh my gosh, the worst one ever was, I thought it'd be cool to join a bowling league.
As every kid does. Think it's cool.
Oh my God. I remember I was like, this is fun. And because, let me preface. I
think it's a preface.
Preface. Okay, let me preface.
It's one of those.
I'm very literate.
Yeah.
Growing up, one of 5 kids, we would homeschool, go to private school, homeschool, private school, back and forth like every other year, right? And my mom would teach at the private schools to help, you know, lower the cost and, you know, and all that stuff, because this is after the older kid flipped.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And growing up in Louisiana, that's where we were. It was Abita Springs, Louisiana. I remember going to school and then homeschooling the next year and not knowing what I was looking at, because it was all pace curriculum. You know, it's kind of like learn at your own pace type thing.
Yeah.
And then I learned that my mom wouldn't really watch me. She couldn't, because, you know, other kids needed help. And so when she wasn't looking, I'd go get the answer key, fill out some right ones and miss a couple ones so she wouldn't figure it out. Yeah, right. And then not knowing that it would bite me in the butt later on in life. Because when I wanted to go back to school, I had no clue what I was looking at. But people knew answers to stuff, and I was like, how are you figuring out how to solve these problems? This is nuts. And my dad was crazy smart. He was an engineer. After the whole pistols in the face and even the rifle, when he was standing across the hallway, and I was kind of taken aback. We had guns in the house. I mean, growing up in Louisiana, the gun case, you walk in the front door, it's right there on the left. And that's what we'd do on the weekends is we'd clean rifles and guns and, CLP them and all that stuff. And I love going hunting and fishing and all that stuff with them and target practicing because we had musket guns. All that was fun.
That's pretty cool.
But it was always on his terms. And, but like I said, when it wasn't, that's what I was saying. It was when I started bowling. Oh my God, I'll never forget. it was my turn to bowl. He came in there, grabbed me and said, nope, you're not playing this effing sport. He's like, this is not a sport. You're not doing that. And ripped me out in front of everybody. And I was just like, what? But I thought it was so cool. It was fun,
How old were you?
Oh, I think this is right after I got back from Spain. I was 10.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was also a missionary. And so that's what, to realistically, I honestly think, I know the reason why my childhood didn't turn out to be me rebelling against everyone and just letting the frustrations of my dad and the abuse get deeper inside is the fact that I was a missionary and I got to go to YWAM, Youth of the Mission. We, when I was 10, it was $2,500. I had to raise it myself. I sold donuts on the corner, Krispy Kreme box donuts,
Love that.
And then frozen pizzas and raked yards and all that stuff. Because, again, my dad did instill in me the work ethic.
Nothing's for free. You earn it.
Absolutely, 100%. And if it is free, there's questions with it, And that's the problem with today's world. Everybody wants, the entitlement is absolutely insane. People think that they deserve something for nothing. Just because what happened in the past for someone else doesn't mean that you're justifiable. You don't deserve anything unless you've worked for it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I raised the $2,500 and I went to Spain and Romania for an entire month. And then I'd come back home and I'd rejuvenate and everything. And then, you have ups and downs in any family. Nothing's perfect. But what I'm saying is I learned how to manage those feelings of fear, being terrified of my own dad and not knowing when he was going to snap.
What caused him to, after the oil rig flip that he was in charge of or had a component of involvement in, and he went down that dark path, what was the thing he used to cope or to what caused him to turn this way besides the sorrow? Was there something else in his life?
But see, that's what I don't know because I never knew his dad. Because his dad, my only guess, or one of my guesses would be that he didn't have a father figure to learn what was good and bad, how you should act, how you shouldn't act. Because his dad had left, and I think when he was around 10 or even younger, somewhere around there, I don't know. But he has a brother. And my dad would say that it was between him and his brother to supply all the, food for their mom and help her with, raising money and all that. And when he was also playing football for school and high school rather, he would work at high school he'd play football at high school and then had to run over to his job, to make money and everything. And, but he was also raised with my grandmother who was an alcoholic for a long time before she was saved. So that whole trickle effect of you're abused, makes someone else hurt.
Yeah.
That mentality of you hurt me, so I can hurt someone else.
Yeah.
It's never justifiable. It's the stupidest, most ignorant thing anyone else can do. It's you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back. It's so dumb because it doesn't do anything good. It just creates a lot of animosity, a lot of division in families and people that are around you.
Brokenness.
Absolutely. And then people are retaliating, and now you have all this hate in the world, and people are focused on, I watched the video not too long ago, and I regret watching it because I had to turn it off, where this one guy walks out, and it's during the playoffs. He's wearing a Spurs jersey, and all the guys are, I guess they're New York I don't watch basketball.
I don't either. I couldn't help you there.
New York. It's New York and the Spurs are playing right now in the finals. So anyways, he comes walking out in a Spurs jersey by himself, and I didn't hear the audio, but all of a sudden you see he's like, what in the world? He starts running, and they all grab him, and they're like beating him, like just beating him down on the ground. He finally gets up, and then someone kicks him in the back, and he falls forward. No, people are sitting there with their phones recording this whole entire thing. What in the heck?
Just because he's a fan of a different team.
Right? It's the stupidest thing in the world. You have nothing to gain from this. Mm-hmm. You're not getting paid by the NBA. Why are you going to go attack someone else because they don't agree with you? That's the division that we have in this world now is like, if you don't follow along with my guidelines, then I don't accept you, period. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, people want to preach love and happiness and all this other stuff. But if you really do love someone, you're going to be honest with them. And I mean, not to get too political or too like into anything else, but I had someone not too long ago that was a lesbian say, well, you don't love lesbians? I'm like, I didn't say that. And they said, well, what about if you're a non-gender, if you're not a boy or a girl? I was like, I'm gonna tell you what you are. Mm-hmm. Well, that's being disrespectful. No, being disrespectful is lying to you about it, not telling you the truth,
enabling your delusion.
Absolutely. And you wonder what our mental health, why it's going down so much, is because we live in a society that wants to accommodate everyone versus speaking truth. Mm-hmm. Look at all these stupid government regulations and stuff that now they're trying to pass for all these different. You can go ahead and go through transgender and all this other stuff because you had a hard childhood as a male, so it'd be better as a woman. You know what? We're going to help you switch your mentality. So we're going to help you morph your outside. I don't care how much you morph your outside, your still DNA is going to tell you you're a female or male.
Yeah.
You can lie to yourself all you want. That's not going to change. And so that's why I started sharing my story about the way I grew up. Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up with an abusive father and everything. Yeah, sure, I could have became a girl. Would that change how I was raised? No. Those still hurt feelings are still inside. And that's why people ask, well, how do you know there's a God? It's like, because he showed up in mighty ways when I was broken, big time. Later on in life, I joined the Marine Corps because I struggled through high school, like struggled. I was a jock. I played football, golf, and baseball. I didn't learn until maybe 10 years ago that I really didn't graduate, but that's another subject.
It's the thought that counts.
Oh my gosh, that's nuts. So anyways, I'll share really quick. So 10 years ago, my mom was helped running an orphanage in Mozambique. It's called Pioneer 61. And so anyways, I flew out there to help build some stuff. And I said, Mom, can I talk to you about this nightmare I've had ever since I graduated high school? And she goes, yeah, baby, what's up? I was like, why do I have a nightmare? I never graduated high school. And she goes, well, your father and I, you did what? We talked to your guidance counselor and we said, Stephen doesn't have grades to graduate. And they went, no, we love Stephen. We're just going to let him slide because we know he's going to fit into society. I was like, so you're kidding me? They gave
it to you.
They gave me a diploma. But that was the truth because I struggled all the way through school. You know, like I said, just trying to learn stuff. And when I got to high school, my dad let me go to a public high school because I wanted to play real sports. I was tired of playing city leagues. And that's, I remember, I'll never forget, I was my sophomore year and I was like, you want to talk about anxiety? I could not focus on anything. And I was also working at a grocery store as a cashier, you know, so I was back and forth. And then even summer school, I had to go to summer school just so I could be on the sports teams because my grades were horrible.
Yeah.
The point is that people want to look at you and they say, wow, it's a dude. I mean, he looks pretty decent, you
Successful.
know, he's 46 years old, you know, he dresses nice and everything. And I mean, but they don't see the scars. They don't see the struggles that you went through. And they're so quick to judge. And this is a prime example, but I joined the Marine Corps because I knew that's what my dad wanted me to do. Because he always told me, you're going to be too much of a dumb shit to do anything else. All you're going to be able to do is to join the military when you graduate high school. And that's what he told me all my teen years, my entire teen years. When I had the because I was a kicker in football. I had like 72-yard punts. I could do 60-yard field goals in warming up, like nothing. And then I tore my ACL my junior year in high school and came back my senior even stronger and was even kicking further. And so I had a walk-on scholarship opportunity for Mississippi State. And I remember I was like, there's no way. I barely graduated high school. I can't do college. I'm not even going to try it. So that's why the only reason I joined the Marine Corps is because I asked all the girls who had the sexiest uniform. Then I asked all the guys, which one's the hardest one to get into? So I was like, that's where I'm going. Because I'm competitive. I'm very competitive.
Yeah.
And so I joined the Marine Corps from 98 to 02.
Wow.
And then as a combat engineer, specialized in minefield demolition, building stuff, blowing it up, all that crazy stuff. And went overseas for a year. And then when I got back, we had some stuff happened. And I got sent to a hard labor camp. And the Marine Corps was trying to make a point. So a guy broke his back.
What's a hard labor camp?
It's CCU, Correctional Custody Unit. It's to rehabilitate you as a Marine, to basically re-brainwash you, essentially, to teach you that, no, you're going to either go by our rules or not. But I was actually protecting someone else and another guy's his back broken. So anyways, so I made big rocks, little rocks for 3 months. My elbows were bleeding everywhere. I had scars on my elbows, and I was spitting up blood at night, throwing it up. And after 3 months...
Like mining with a pickaxe? Or like using...
a 25-pound sledgehammer.
Wow.
Yeah, they had these huge blocks of concrete with rebar in it. And so they would, like all the other guys that were there too, you had to hit it all at the same time. And you had to say, like, okay, we're going to do 50 reps. Everybody get around it. And so they go, CCU, and they pick up your sledgehammer. And they go, good for you, or good for me, good for you. Pow! And you had to hit it all at the same time. If you weren't in sync,
it didn't count.
It didn't count. And then you had to lock your arms up, every time you raised it up. And of course, it's a 25-pound sledgehammer. You're hitting concrete. And every now and then someone would miss it and hit their kneecap and spin it around, And it's like, oh, he's hurt. No, go back to -20. And then you'd be out there for like an hour doing this junk, Anyways, it was just to rehabilitate you, to make you a tougher guy. So after I got out of that, I went back to my platoon, and they're like, all right, Zampieri, you ready to re-up? And I went, nope. Well, why not? I was like, no, not after all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I would tell anybody that's able to serve, they should. Because I call it the biggest fraternity group there is. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest brotherhood that there is. I still keep in touch with a lot of my guys. And after that, my mom and I would build certain things growing up, like bookcases and stuff like that. And it was fun, because my mom was basically doing the stuff that my dad didn't do. And so my mom is a amazing woman. I mean, like if you were to draw a picture of a perfect mother, that's her. She's a super godly lady. I mean, it's super, very tough. Mm-hmm. She's not always warm and fuzzy, but she just tells you how it is. Mm-hmm. And even when it doesn't matter how bad you're struggling, she'd show up. Mm-hmm.
Nurturing, which was she more nurturing than your dad, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My dad might have said, I love you 5 times in my entire life. And the last time the 5th time he ever said it was the night he shot himself, because he called to say goodbye. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, my mom is a phenomenal woman. She's so godly, and she was definitely the backbone of our family. Mm-hmm. I don't even know how she did it sometimes, because how bad my dad's temper was and how he would just snap off and everything. And then because with the oil rig, you were there a week, gone a week, there a week, gone a week.
When did the oil rig flip? And then when did your parents get, you mentioned they got divorced, right?
Mm-hmm. So they didn't get divorced until, I want to say the oil rig flipped around 89.
And you would have been how old?
I was born in 79, so 10.
Okay, so that's when he started to switch from good dad to bad dad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I said, he went from the dad that had lined his pockets full of candy before we got to church so he could pass them out and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
To being the guy that just was mad at everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my mom, like I said, she was the glue in our family. She was amazing, and she was the one that we'd have Bible studies every morning, and and do all that stuff before we went to church or before we went to school. And I'll never forget that she wanted to hear from God, and so she locked herself into a hotel for 40 days.
Wow.
And fasted, just so she wouldn't be tempted. That's what a prayer warrior she was, or still is actually. She's still alive.
Yeah.
She lives with my second older sister in Jackson or Brandon, Mississippi. But what was I gonna say? So when I got out of the Marine Corps, my mom was like, "Yeah, no, we should work together." And she's like, "I loved working with you, building stuff as a kid. So let's do it like similar stuff." So we bought Kitchen Tune-Up, the franchise. We bought into it, So we had the southern region, and so we flew up to Aberdeen, South Dakota, learned how to sell and do the product, refacing and all that stuff, and then went back to Mobile, Alabama, and just got really big really quick. I mean, because I'm a salesman, and so is my mom. My mom, is very relatable, and people love her. And so, but she's crazy smart when it comes to business too. And because she's also a bookkeeper growing up. So she knew all the ins and outs and all that stuff. But that's when they split up because my dad was doing some stuff. But they divorced.
How old were you? Were you still in high school, or were you?
No, this is when we owned the franchise.
Okay,
this is after the Marine Corps.
Yeah, so
right after the Marine Corps. Had the franchise with my mom, and we were in business for about a year, 2 years, somewhere around there.
So maybe 25, 26 years old?
Yeah, probably, yeah. Say probably 25, 26, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Those timelines get a little mixed up.
So she stayed with your dad 16 years after the oil rig flipped.
Yep.
Like just trying to be the glue.
Yeah,
as best
like
as she
praying
could.
for him and just like being a loving mom and wife. Yeah.
Did she know about the abuses that he was causing you and your siblings?
I never asked her. Honestly, never asked her because I was too scared that she didn't know and did. I was the guy who was like, I'll never forget. And my sister still brings up every now and then that I was the protector in the family. So there's times where my sister was about to get a spanking, and I was like, no, I'll take it for you. Just because I saw what my dad was capable of.
And you didn't want that to happen to your sister.
And I didn't want it to happen to anyone else. And I didn't want anyone to know about it. And that's why I think a lot of people live with the shame of, I was raised as in a hard household. And so they put that down, they shove it down, and then one day it's going to come out. It's going to come out positive or it's going to come out negative. And that's why so many people have so much like pent up anger and hurt.
It's more common than it's talked about because it is, like you said, there's so much shame carried with it, even though the child does nothing wrong.
It is, and it's absolutely not your fault.
They're made to think from the parent that, like when your dad came in and said, if we get divorced, it's
you're the
because,
wedge in a marriage. Yeah.
It's you're being fed lies by someone who is a fallen human. They're full of sin.
It's a manipulation.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to get you to think like he thinks. So he'll stop causing him issues and he can live an easier life, essentially.
Yeah. So you started the franchise with your mom.
Yeah, we got really big and everything, and it was very successful. And like when my parents started going through a divorce, so did my drinking started getting worse, like really bad, to the point where I wasn't drinking as bad, but like as I was later on. But I was drinking almost every night. Like I'd get home and I'd make a whiskey drink, and then like one drink would have like 3 drinks. Because my mom, I'll never forget, she asked me, she's like, well, will you sit with me in the courtroom? And then I felt torn apart because I was like, crud, now I have to choose between one side or the other side. And I don't want to have to look at my dad if I'm sitting on my mom's side, even though my dad was in the wrong. It was just kind of like.
You were still trying to protect, in a way, the family unit, even though it was broken. Yeah,
right. And so luckily they just went to a mitigation and got it all figured out. But it was right after that my wife was a nurse, and so she was in nursing school and had just got her license. And she was like, maybe it'd be healthier if we just move. And I was like, oh, I agree. And so after all that, I told my mom, I was like, okay, well, I'm done with Kitchen Tune-Up, and you can have everything. And we moved to Colorado, and I was like, okay, new place, new beginnings. But here's the point. Just because you move somewhere doesn't change who you are.
It follows you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you don't deal with your issues, they're just, like I said, you stuff them down. They're going to come out one day somehow or another. And my thing is, once I got to Colorado, I had that mindset. It's like, oh, I can't breathe. It's like, it's a different place, different mindset. I don't know anyone here. You know, I could just restart
Like
from
a fresh
everything.
start.
Absolutely. But then the betrayal came in. I literally felt like I betrayed my mom because she started that franchise for me, with me. Because she said, I want you to have a career when you get out. And I enjoyed working with you and everything. And that's when I just like, it hurt so bad to where I got, I just started to like self-medicate. You know, it was, I thought I was okay. And I was like, oh, but now she's got it all and it's very successful and she doesn't have to do any of like the work, you know, she just has to run the crews that are still working for the franchise. And I was justifying it, you know. But I felt like I literally felt like I threw my mom to the wolves. And I was kind of like, you figure it out because I don't want to be around and I don't want to help you through this stuff. And when my drinking got to the point where I was drinking 100 proof vodka a gallon every day and a half, I turned yellow. I couldn't talk. I had 8 seizures. It never failed. The first time, I was sitting, I think I was sitting in the basement watching TV and I saw this gold moth. And I was like, what in the world is that? And I was looking at it, like it was on the side of the TV and it was doing like this. And it was getting closer and closer. And like, I was trying to back up from it. And so I was doing like this and all of a sudden it was right in my face. And then I opened my eyes again and I'm in an ambulance.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Huh? Sir, you just had a seizure. And they're asking me all these questions. And I was saying weird stuff. I don't even know. But because my wife was like, they said, who's your wife? You said, your sister. You know, because I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. But it got to the point where my drinking was just intensifying because I was self-medicating to push down those feelings and the betrayal and past hurts with my dad and the Marine Corps stuff. And that I became a very good liar at hiding it. I'm like, okay, yep, I'm going to stop. And then it became, you know, hiding a bottle here, hiding a bottle here, okay, I'll hide a bottle here and then tell you, you know what? I'm lying to you. I had a bottle that was hidden right here, knowing, in fact, I had 2 other bottles hidden somewhere else. That way it would like trick her so she wouldn't go looking for those.
Lying to your wife, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Were your kids old enough to know what was going on?
We didn't have kids yet. No, we didn't have kids yet. This is probably in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, 2010, somewhere on there. But it was always a diversion, you know, and I'd wake up at 2:00 in the morning, start getting the shakes, the sweats, and I feel like my heart's going to jump out of my chest and I had to slide out of the bed and then go down to where the bottles were hidden, you know, and then sometimes it'd be like this much in it. And I'm like, oh no.
That's not enough to get your fix.
It's not. Yeah. Right. And then, so that's when I learned about buying a lot more and then buying them by the gallon. And so, then putting them in Sprite bottles, Gatorade bottles, all that, the classic, you know, hiding. If you put in a water bottle, you can't tell it's either water or vodka, you know? And then it was like, oh, if I eat smelly food, she won't smell my breath.
Yeah.
All the stupid lies we tell to each other or tell to ourselves, you know, thinking that we're tricking other people when you're just lying to yourself. And then that's where my mental illness was kicking in, was the fact that I was lying to myself and believing my own lies. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I had lied to myself for so long that I thought it was a reality.
Yeah.
You know,
like living in a delusion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then when I would start to feel more reality and everything, I'd just drink more just to go numb again, you know, because there's a liquor store in every corner, you know, and it's easy. It's an easy thing to get. And then I'll never forget, I thought it was morning time and, I opened my eyes and my mother-in-law, who lives in Alabama, was standing by the sofa, my wife was on the other side.
You had passed out on the couch the night
Yeah.
before?
Yeah. Because that's like, usually I had a bottle hidden underneath the couch or in the cushions or in the vents or something like that. I tried in the back of the toilet until it started making noises, and I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah, rattling.
Yeah. But I was to say that's when I knew that it was weird because I had no concept of time. I thought it was the morning. It was late in the afternoon. Mother-in-law standing there from Alabama. I was like, oh, when did you get here? Mm-hmm. And then, I looked over at Holly and she's like, I'm done. And then here's the papers, like sign them. And I was like, all right.
Divorce papers,
Yeah,
right?
sign the divorce papers.
Wow.
Yeah. And then a family friend brought me to the hospital where I went through like a 3-day rehab, which is a joke.
It's not enough, right?
No, absolutely. These 3-day facilities are they're there to self-medicate you, or it's not self-medicate. They're there to medicate you just so you don't have a seizure, because usually it's the first 72 hours of withdrawals is when you have seizures.
It's a good starting point, but it's not enough to fix the issue.
Right. Yeah, you need to go to an in-house patient. Mm-hmm. That's the only way to do it. Mm-hmm. These go in, go out, or I mean, AA might work for some people, but not for me. Mm-hmm. I needed a deeper to be in the moment, like stay there, not just go there for a class and then leave, because that's not going to do any good. If you're a true addict and
you're hiding it,
you're going to say everything you can to get people off your back.
Yeah.
And then just like it took me forever to commit to going to a rehab. Mm-hmm. After we divorced and I got an apartment, I rented an apartment. For 4 months, I still had Christmas dinner in my fridge when my mom showed up 4 months later. I wasn't eating. I didn't even know what day it was. Mm-hmm. I was doing nothing but vodka, and I would keep enough to chug to get rid of the shakes just so I could fool people and walk into the liquor store, because if you're really intoxicated, then they're not supposed to assault you, whatever. And so I just tricked people, and I went to the bank multiple times and withdrew money, whatever. But I had to drink to get my nerves down and, act professional and everything.
You were fully dependent, addicted.
Oh, 100%.
Where you can't exist normally without it.
And when I'm talking about shaking so bad that even if you're trying to go to the bathroom, it was literally like this, like shaking that bad where I'm like peeing everywhere because I could not stand still, period. Like trying to walk and I have to hold onto the walls, and like it was nuts, but I didn't realize it. Well, I realized it, but
you weren't accepting it.
I wasn't accepting it. Right. Yeah. And I was kind of like, I'll wean myself off. Yeah, that'll work. I could do that. I'm a tough guy. I'll just do that. No. I was like, I'll just start drinking beer. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll start drinking beer. Okay, well, I'll start drinking beer with a higher alcohol content. Mm-hmm. Then next thing you know, I'm back up there. Okay, well, I'll just do 2 shots a day, or I'll just do 3 shots a day just to get the nerves down, until it gets completely out of my system. Yeah. It's all the stupid lies we tell ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like I said, when my mom showed up, I believe it was like 4 years later, or 4 years, oh my God, 4 months later.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who she was. When I answered the door, I was like, can I help you?
You're so out of it. I
was so out of it. Yeah. And I didn't even know what reality was. I didn't know if I was dreaming or if I was awake. Half the time it was nuts. I didn't care if I lived or died, to be honest, because I bought a motorcycle off the showroom floor. And when it was snowing outside, I was driving the motorcycle around.
Yeah,
you just didn't care.
You're just numb to life.
Right. Yeah. Just completely numb. It was the stupidest thing in the world. And so anyways, my mom showed up and she's like, Stephen, it's Mom. And I remember just like, I couldn't even talk at this time because my tongue was so swollen from biting it from all the seizures I had inside the apartment. Because when I was in the apartment, I can't tell you how many seizures I had. I mean, I had pants where I had crapped all over myself. So I know I had multiple seizures. And it was wild. And finally, she brought me to a medical checkup because I was going to go to Teen Challenge, which is in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's a 1-year program.
I've heard of Teen Challenge.
Yeah.
It's like a get clean program. Right?
Yeah. It's in-house. Right.
Yeah.
And so I went to all the medical evals and got my shots and everything. That way, I could go and be admitted into New Orleans, their location there. And I was there for, I think, about a month. And every now and then they would let you go to like Walmart to get, like little stuff. And I paid for my supplements, and because I was able to get like a workout supplement. And one of the guys had stole something, and they caught the guy that was stealing stuff. That he was also in Teen Challenge, and he ratted me out. And he was like, "Oh, well, Stephen has this." I was like, "I paid for this."
Mm-hmm.
And like, "Where's your receipt?" I was like, "Well, I don't have a receipt." I was like, I'll keep receipts." And so anyways, so they kicked me out.
Guilty by association.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though you didn't do anything wrong.
They kicked me out, and I'll never forget. I had to call my dad because my mom was in Africa, and my dad lived in Mobile, Alabama with his wife. And this, like, after they got divorced, he remarried and married another woman. But I'll never forget. I had never even met her, and to call him, I was like, "Dad, can you come get me?" And he's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I just got kicked out of Teen Challenge." He's like, "I'm not surprised." But he said some other choice words too, right? Mm-hmm. So I was this huge inconvenience. He had to drive 2 hours to come pick me up from New Orleans and then drive me back to his house. And this just shows what kind of a dad my dad was at this time. His advice after I got kicked out, and now I'm living with him, because remember, I'm divorced. Mm-hmm. My wife lives in Colorado. Well, my ex-wife lives in Colorado now. I'm living at my dad's house with his new wife, and his advice directly to me was, just don't drink liquor. You can drink beer, you can drink wine, just don't drink liquor. That's his life-changing advice. Mm-hmm. Why? Because he liked to drink, and he didn't want to feel odd around me.
He was also an alcoholic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, and then my grandma was there. She would come and visit, whatever, and then they sit on the back porch, and she would drink some stuff, and every now and then, but I would catch myself walking in there and like taking a shot, when people weren't looking, and here comes the seizures again. I was standing in my dad's living room again. Here comes that gold moth, and I was just like, "Oh no!" And that's all I remember. I remember waking up in the ambulance again. It's like, holy smokes.
So did you go back to a rehab facility after that?
I did not right away.
Okay.
After I got to the hospital, this is when I think that's the only time I ever saw my dad cry. When I got out of the hospital, I went to his business, and I was apologizing. I said, "Dad, I'm sorry." And he looked at me and goes, "Stephen, you're ripping my heart out." And I went, it wasn't on purpose, but I had so much animosity toward him, so much regret, and so much like frustrating feelings, because I felt like I was like a sissy at times, because I wouldn't put blood on my face for my first kill for deer. And that's why I have a deviated septum, because he broke my nose because he called me, the P word. But anyways, and so instead of ever standing up to my dad, I just took it like this, bottled it all up. I'll take care of it. I'll protect everybody by holding this stuff in.
You believed that you were the problem.
I did.
Even though you weren't the problem.
I did. He
was the problem.
I did, because when you hear that you're the wedge in our marriage, and if we get divorced, it's your fault, and now you are divorced, and now he's with another wife, then it's kind of like, it was my fault. Because I'm the middle child, so-called, because I have two older sisters, me, little sister, little brother. And so, I always used to think as a joke, it's like, oh, middle child syndrome. Yeah, well, whatever. Okay, sure. That's just another crutch.
I'm a middle child as well, of three.
Oh, yeah. Right. And so it's like people use it as a crutch, but it was after that one of my really good friends, her name is Mindy. Her dad was like a real, like a dad to me. And Mr. Burt Waite, he was a phenomenal guy. He was a barber. He owned a barbershop too. And he was my escape dad, I call it, because when like the holidays would come up, he'd always say, "Hey, Stephen, come with us. We're going to go to Easter. We're going to leave town. We're going to this place or whatever." And I was like, "Okay, fun," because his daughter was like my best friend. Mm-hmm. Because growing up with three sisters, and my brother was so much younger, there was females everywhere all the time. They're some of my best friends. Mm-hmm. Kathy, we used to run the woods with three-wheelers, the tomboys and stuff. Mm-hmm. But and so I got more comfortable around females than guys, because have it through sisters and
Yeah.
all their friends. But so anyways, Mr. Burt actually found out that I was in town, and he was on the board for the Mission of Hope, which is a Christian rehab facility in Mobile, Alabama. Phenomenal place, and it's in the middle of the woods, which is perfect for me. It's not in any of these like buildings. That's the other thing that was hard about Teen Challenge. It's in the 9th Ward, and you're stuck in this little building. The only time you can get out is if you're on the truck going to empty the donation boxes, or if they wanted like free food for the house. Essentially, they would have these events where you would do cleanup. So we put like these catering shirts on, whatever. We go to these events and we get the food, and we can bring it back to all the leftover food back to the facility
to feed everyone.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, like a donation.
Yeah, right. And so I was gonna say, so going to Mr. Burt, he said, I can get you into the Mission of Hope, but this is all on you, Stephen. You have to agree to this. No one else can make you do this. And there was that whole reality of realizing I've got to come to terms with I do have an issue. This is not just something I've been lying about. And everybody says, oh, you're an alcoholic. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. No, I'm just going through some personal issues. It'll be okay. So I remember talking to some people on the board, and they were saying, okay, well, you're going to come in tomorrow? Yeah, I'll come in. Then I wouldn't show up, because it was that whole pride. Like, I cannot admit that I have this huge issue,
And shame probably too. I mean, people who deal with addiction or battle with something like that, you don't want to admit that you are in a dark place because you have reputation, you don't want people to view you a certain way. So you're battling internal demons, but also like the fear of external perception.
And the thing is that people think that makes them look weak. That's what I was struggling with too, because I felt like I looked weak by admitting that I had all these issues, which it wasn't. I looked weak because I was drinking myself to death to self-medicate.
And you're hiding it. And
versus being a tough guy that, can face anything and just take it on and like put it behind me. And then I went to the Christian Rehab for 3 months. And that's where I rekindled my relationship with God. And I started hearing him speak in ways that I was like completely like took the blinders off my eyes. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And then my mother-in-law, I'll never forget, my mother-in-law, she came to visit me a couple of times. And remember, we were divorced.
Yeah. So at that time, ex-mother-in-law.
Yeah, correct.
She was still visiting you.
Yeah. And so the last time I'd seen her was in Colorado when the moving truck was there. And she would show up and, oh my gosh, she didn't have to. She didn't have to show up at all. But just for her to show up like that meant that she loved me through it. That she wasn't judging me, but the circumstances, and she still loved me through it. And it was like the perfect example of God's love through trials. And I was just so grateful. And that's what it started melting my heart to where I saw God's forgiveness, firsthand, and felt that inner healing starting to come back out. And then, because there's nothing worse than when you get divorced and you see the people that you used to run with, and then that you're not with that person, but you're still seeing the other people. And it's just that loneliness. It's insane. And fast forward, and I graduated, and I'll never forget that my truck was in Alabama, in Mobile. So I got my truck and drove overnight back to Colorado. And I said, God, I'm stepping out in faith. And so I drove overnight. I didn't have any money. I had just enough gas to get, I think I was like 300 miles short of Colorado. And I'll never forget that I called Holly, my ex-wife, and I said, hey, I'm stuck at a gas station. I didn't even tell her where. I was like, can you give them your credit card number? And she's like, wait, what? What's going on? I said, will you please? And so she gave him her credit card number and paid for my gas. And then I drove, like I said, straight through the night. It was 24 hours. And I showed up on her front doorstep and knocked on her door, and she answered it. And she was like, "What are you doing here?" And then it was the wildest thing, because another example of God's love and forgiveness when there's no way to justify it, because I was never rude. I was never violent toward her, ever. I was just emotional. I just get super emotional and cry and everything. And then she would try to console me, and then I'm like, just leave me alone, please. And like when I was when we lived in Alabama, we lived on the water. And when I was drinking and having my moments of just like wanting to like fall apart, I would jump in the water where the alligators were and just swim for like 1 or 2 hours in the middle of the river, down these like little sloughs and everything, and hearing all this crap. And I was like, I didn't care, but I just wanted to be by myself. But that's how I was when I was drinking, right? I was never violent toward her or anything, because I knew exactly how it would play out, as like, because I know that feeling from my own dad. And by the grace of God, we started dating again. And then we got remarried on our original marriage date.
Wow.
And then to this day, she still tells everybody, that we're married so many years. I'm like, no, we're not. There was a year gap there.
So it was exactly 1 year where you guys were split up.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly 1 year.
When were you remarried? How long ago?
Oh, I don't know. So River is 12. I want to say 14 years.
So this all happened before kids were in the picture.
Yeah.
It was y'all were parents without kids, divorced,
Correct.
and then a year later back together after you had hit rock bottom, went to rehab.
Went to a Christian rehab, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and then because we were married, and then I think it was about 2 years later that River came along.
Yeah.
That's my 12-year-old son. But just to be clear about, just because you go through a rehab doesn't mean that you're out of the woods, because I did fall. Well, after we got remarried, I started drinking again, because I was like, oh, I can drink socially and just be, because again, I didn't want people to feel odd around me, because they were drinking around me and like, oh, he's an alcoholic and he's got an issue with it. So I don't want to feel uncomfortable. So I'd be like, oh no, it's fine. I drink too, And so I'd drink a beer, whatever. And then I caught myself drinking the higher alcohol content beer and everything. And then lo and behold, I was on a job site. No one was around me. I got a bottle of vodka. I was drinking it. And I remember right before I got home, actually Holly was pregnant with River. She was due in a couple months from then. And, I was like, I cannot go home with this bottle. I can't let her find it. So I chugged it. And this is 100 proof vodka. I chugged it. And I remember chunking out the window. The next thing I heard was someone tapping on my glass of my truck that I just bought 10 days earlier than that. I ran my truck into someone's house, like the corner of a brick house. By the grace of God, it was a brick house and not something that I would have went through. And also, no one was home. And the cop was tapping on the window, and I remember tasting that talc, that powder, that comes from your airbags. And it obviously knocked me out. And then, anyway, I remember getting out, and I think they tried to do a test on me or something. But again, the hand of God was all over this, because I didn't go to jail. They brought me to a drunk tank, essentially, like to sweat it out, whatever. Yeah. And so my wife's at home pregnant. Doesn't know where I am. I hadn't talked to her since I left the job site. And now I'm at this drunk tank at, I think it was somewhere around 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, something like that. Until you had to blow zeros in the morning. And I think it was like 6 something. I'm not gonna say 6, 7. No one says that anymore. But yeah, so when they gave me the green light so I could leave, I finally got in touch with her, and she's like, where have you been? And so anyway, I told her. And
told the truth.
Yeah. And so she was just like, okay, well, what do we need to do? And then that's when I think it really started to dawn on me. I was like, no, I'm done. I cannot drink. This is ridiculous. And then River was born a couple months later. And then that that opened up a lot of different doors of just like seeing your son, you know, and the cuddling and just wanting to be with him and be the best dad possible. Am I flawed? Oh, 100%. Did I drink again eventually? Yeah, I did. I drank, you know, and like later on too. But it was that stupid roller coaster of like, you get comfortable. It's like, oh, I can manage it now, you know, but then you start getting into the point where it's like, I had, what was it? I want to say maybe 8 years ago. Yeah. Somewhere around 8 years ago. That was the last time I drank hard because I was hallucinating. And I remember I called the ambulance. And I don't know what was going through my brain, to be honest with you. But all I remember is being tied to the bed at a hospital, butt naked, because I was a flight risk, and seeing stuff on the ceiling that looked like black spider webs that were crawling around. It was nuts. And then my wife and kids, because Sloan was born, you know, Sloan was 8 years ago. So he was 4, maybe 5, somewhere on there. Walking in and the kids saying, "Hey, Dad," and all this stuff. And like, here I am, you know, naked with a bed sheet over me. And I'll never forget that moment. I was just like so embarrassed. And I was like, all because of a drink, because you wanted to drink, you know? But again, it was a lot of unforgiveness because I hadn't forgiven myself. The biggest way to get past struggles in your life is to forgive yourself and then forgive those around you, or ask for forgiveness rather.
Yeah.
Whoops. And so what I'm saying is because fast forward to 6 years ago, I love working with special needs. So I worked with special needs for a long time, and they have this event. It's called Pull a Plane. It's a DIA, and so there's different teams. They dress up as superheroes, whatever. They pull a plane for charity to raise money and all that stuff. News crews are out there and all that stuff.
Like a small plane that would come off from like a local airport?
Like a FedEx plane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
A huge plane.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's like a team of like 30 people. What you're on this big old ropes that's, you know, that's...
And you're all pulling it.
Yeah, correct. And you have to pull like 10 feet or something like that. But I have a professional, I call it professional Batman costume. You know, I spent like $1,200 on it, but it's pretty legit.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's a rubber cowl. Everything's really cool. But, and I use it for adoption days and like church events and children's, like the elementary schools. I used to perform there, stuff like that. It's fun. But I was at this event for Pull a Plane for special needs to raise awareness and money and stuff like that. And my phone had a bunch of like missed calls, and it was my dad. And I was like, why is he calling me right now? And I hadn't talked to him in a couple months because that's what he would do. He was like, he'd pop up and like, hey, all the grand boys, blah, blah, blah. And anyways, what's going on in your life? And then disappeared for a couple months. Well, it's convenient for him, basically. You know, that's just his mentality. And so finally I talked to him. And I was like, Dad, what's going on? What? And he goes, oh, I just want to talk to you. And just see how my grandboys doing. I was like, well, you have other grandkids. What's going on? He goes, oh, I know, but there's Zampieris, and, you know, because my sisters have last names, and so they're not Zampieri kids. Yeah. And so anyways, he goes, oh, I know, but he's like, I could see them all the time, but I just don't get to see the Zampieri grandkids. And I was like, okay, well, why don't you come out? And he goes, well, and he goes, I'll never forget, because it went from being like my eyes were on fire because my eyeliner was running in my eyes because it was hot.
Yeah.
You know,
because you're full Batman. Yeah. You got the makeup on and everything.
Yeah, because I had black makeup underneath my cowl. And anyways, and so he goes, just know that whatever happens, that I love you. And I went, what? What does that mean? That was the 5th time in his life he'd ever said I love you. And then that night he drank a 5th of whiskey. And his wife said that when she got home, she goes, Stephen, I didn't recognize him. He was so drunk. And then he made a comment. He's like, get my pistol. You'll be a widow by the morning. And he goes, how about, and this is what she told us. So he said, well, how about I shoot you first so you don't have to suffer without me? So she ran out the house. And then, wait, let me back this up really quick. God works in mysterious ways, right? So before I had there was a gap. I hadn't talked to my dad, and this is about 5 months prior to August 5th. And so it was 2 o'clock in the morning. Woke up. The Holy Spirit said, pray for your dad. He doesn't have much time left on the earth. What? Okay. So I'm praying for my dad, and then I fall back asleep. The next day I call him like, Dad, what's going on? Well, what do you mean what's going on? I said, here's what the Holy Spirit said. And he goes, well, today at 2 o'clock, I'm going in for my brain scan results. And I was like, what? You weren't going to tell me? He goes, no, why would I? I was like, well, what's going on? He says, I'm just getting dizzy. I'm falling over. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And I said, well, I have to get all this off my chest. Will you forgive me for X, Y, and Z? I forgive you for X, Y, and Z. I need all this off my chest. I need to forgive you for everything before you leave this earth. And we had an amazing talk. I released everything, all those old pain of hurt, all that stuff. And then you go, August 4th, the beginning of August 1st, I was doing a renovation for this cute old lady who was also a believer. She's really sweet. And I started seeing the number 5 everywhere. I'm like, Jesus, why am I seeing the number 5? And he goes, see what it means in my word. So I was like, okay, the 5 stands for grace. I was like, I understand I have grace for my dad, but nothing. I didn't hear anything else, right? August 4th is when I was doing the event as Batman. August 4th is when my dad called to say goodbye, essentially. August 5th at 12:30 something in the morning is when he took his life. And so that's what it was. Jesus was like, be prepared, be prepared. And that number 5, have grace, have grace.
What was the time duration between that phone call with him and him taking his life? Like weeks, months, days? When you wanted to get everything off your chest?
Oh, when I got everything off my chest, it was 5 months.
5 months prior.
Yeah. Yep. And I actually I used to have an old thread with my family on Messenger, and I even put that in the thread. I was like, hey, here's what the Holy Spirit said. Here's what me and Dad talked about. I suggest you do the same. Have your conversations with him while you can, while he's still here. And like I said, but that's when I knew that the forgiveness had sunk in and it was there, and I had that hard talk with my dad, confronting him with all those different, I forgive you for putting pistols in my face, for beating me black and blue, for breaking my nose, for telling me I was a wedge in your marriage, to calling me the P word over and over again, to punching me through the wall or kicking my butt literally down the hall because I got pee on my mom's toilet seat and she sat on it, and then he kicked me in the toilet. While I was trying to wipe it up and he's yelling at me. I said, I forgive you for all that stuff. And that's when I released everything. And that's when everything was different. Everything was different. How I carried myself was different. How I started to see myself was different. That I knew that I was actually out of that bondage that he had put me in. Yeah. And then, and that's when I really forgave myself. Because not only did I forgive him, but I forgave myself for holding it in that long, and just feeling like, if I hold it in, then no one else can be hurt by it. Yeah, which is a lie. That's the devil he'll bind your tongue as much as you will let him. And that's what I was doing. I was like, well, if no one knows about it, then it won't hurt their feelings. Because I love my siblings. I don't want them to be hurt by and know that certain things that Dad did that they didn't know about.
I think that's the trap so many people get in when they come from an abusive household is they're going to turn to something that the world can offer, a drug, an alcohol, a sexual relationship, changing my gender. I mean, there's so many things that we think will fix us, but the truth comes from, the true freedom comes from what we would agree is a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, where he actually liberates you by replacing all that pent up, buried down deep pain, suffering, trauma, what the abuse left, whether it's verbal, physical, sexual, and in Christ we find that freedom. The Holy Spirit, if you're a Christian and you believe what the Bible says, the Holy Spirit is deposited on the inside of you and lives within you. You become an ambassador of Christ, and it allows you to make that impossible leap of, I'm the wedge in the marriage, I'm the problem, there's no way I could forgive my dad, he hurt me so bad, and my siblings and my mom. You make that huge impossible leap to, I'm able to forgive him. I'm able to walk in freedom because when you hold on to the unforgiveness, when you hold on to that bitterness and resentment, and
it's going to manifest some way or another.
It manifests, but also it enslaves you. You know, the Bible talks about how sin enslaves us. It makes us, we think it's like freedom. We think if I change my gender because of the trauma I experienced, I'm now experiencing a freedom of choice. But you're not. You're experiencing a captivity because what you have gone through, what has been negative, traumatic experiences in your life is holding you captive, when the only thing that can break that is Jesus Christ and his blood shed on the cross for our salvation.
Right. Oh, I agree 100%. And the biggest lie that people tell themselves is like they're not male or female. Do you realize if you were to be completely honest with yourself, that's absolutely impossible? You're not a male or female. That right there, I mean, it's just like the reality that people cannot even see that part, that their pronouns, they ask me all the time, what's your pronoun? I'm like, I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
Well,
me neither.
How do you feel about other people? It's like, if that's you, that's good on you. But I was like, I won't buy into it, but either they're male or female. You know, because if you love someone, you're going to be honest with them. I'm tell you what you are, and I'm not going to believe what you're trying to think you are. Yeah. You know, just like a furry.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
It's delusion.
Gosh. It is.
And the problem is it's not talked about. And not every single person applies to what I'm about to say, but so much of those delusional ideologies come from a place of trauma and abuse.
Right, absolutely.
Oftentimes sexual, oftentimes physical, where you don't grow up in a household that is whole, and you know every family's not perfect, but like you don't grow up in a household where there's happiness and joy and safety and consistency and security. So you experience all these levels of trauma.
Yeah.
And then later in life, you are looking for something else as an outlet to express yourself, to find what you think is a freedom of expression or freedom of releasing your own identity or going to your true self. But yet God made a male and female, right? And there's no changing that. And the Bible actually says you're beautifully and wonderfully made. Right. You're not a mistake. You're not an accident. The things you go through don't define you. Don't have a long-term implication on the type of person you have to be, which you're a shining example of. You go through all this trauma. You go through abuse and physical torment, but you have a choice to make to forgive your dad, to forgive the person in your life that betrays you. And the freedom that brings is nothing in this world, no gender ideology, no pronoun associations, no alcohol, nothing that we can turn to is going to fix that issue. It's only when we accept Jesus in our heart, and not to get too preachy, but like it's the truth. Like absolutely, you would probably agree. You would not be who you are.
Yeah, and just a real life example. I was telling you that when I was we bought this one house. It was like a crack house, and scraped and built 3 different houses on that corner. And
with your remodeling business.
With the remodeling business, correct. As soon as we took the perimeter fence down, my trailer was stolen. And then next thing you know, there's a guy outside, and he was black, but he was part of a black motorcycle gang that I learned about later. But he kept looking over, and finally I put my hands up. I'm like, what? And then he comes walking over and got in my face. And my painter rep is there, who's black. And then my painter, who's from Czechoslovakia, he was there. And this guy comes and gets in my face and goes, I see the way you be looking at me. He's like, I didn't steal your damn trailer. And I was like, I never said you did, but you're always looking at us, and every time you come by on your motorcycle, you're revving your engines and all that stuff, trying to intimidate my guys. What is your deal? And he goes, you didn't ask permission to build on my block. And I was like, obviously, I don't need your permission to build on your block because there's 3 houses here now. You kicked out that woman and her son. I was like, you mean the crack whore and the one that was hiding drugs in here? The one the cops said that she had a mile-long record? So anyways, fast forward to he goes, well, you talk a lot. He's like, what you gonna do, big boy? You talk a lot of smack on your property. And I was like, fine, step out in the street. We step out in the street, and I got in his face. And that's when God showed me the fear in his eyes. And he went like this. And he goes, get out my face. Get out my face, bro. Get out my face. And I was like, I'm just right here. So if you have anything else you want to say, come and talk to me. And he goes, it's always you white boys. You don't know what it means to struggle. And he looks over at my black rep. And he goes, you know what I'm talking about, bro. And he goes, no, I don't. But that's the thing. That's what people see black and white. And it's just like,
It's not limited to race.
it's not.
People
it's not.
can
It's
be
so
white
crazy.
and grow up in abusive households. People can be white and grow up
Right.
in poverty.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with race.
But here's how God showed up in all this stuff. So, anyways, he leaves, and my guys get nervous. Call the cops. Cops come flying in. What house? That house. Can you pick him out from a lineup, or not lineup? So mug shots. And I was like, oh, good Lord. Okay. He goes, well, ATF and SWAT raided his house last week and pulled out all these different rifles, weapons, and all that stuff. And I was like, that's great. Obviously, you missed a couple because he showed us one of them. So, anyways, so they said, oh, yep, this is his name, here. And I was like, okay, great. And they said, we'll be on patrol. So my guys are on edge. We put cameras all over the properties and everything. And yeah, sure enough, people go on, look in the windows, and I was just waiting for something to catch on fire all of a sudden. But I was actually working out. And I said, God, I don't know how you want me to work through this. It's like, this is frustrating. I lost my trailer, all my tools, which is thousands and thousands of dollars and everything. Cops recovered the trailer, stripped out, nothing inside of it, obviously. And then the cop goes, do you have any of your serial numbers? And I'm like, well, yeah, actually, because this is not the first time my trailer's been stolen. You know, it happened in Alabama, truck and trailer stolen. And so I start giving him all these serial numbers, and it's like ping. Oh, it's like ping, ping, ping. And I went, what does that mean? He goes, all your tools are at one pawn shop. I went, for real? That's amazing. Can I go get him? He's like, no, it's going to go through evidence. It's going to take about 3 months. So I was frustrated. So I was like, okay, I got to go to the gym. So that's when I went to the gym. I was like, God, I need your help. I was like, I am struggling because I'm stressed out and I have to go buy thousands of dollars of tools and everything. Anyways, he literally says, write him a letter. I'm like, wait a minute. You want me to write a letter to the guy that's threatening me and my guys, trying to put fear? Because he said his last words to me directly were, I'll show you what fear can do. Because that's when we were in the street and he got scared. And his last words to me were, I'll show you what fear can do. And then he starts showing his pistol. So I was like, all right, fine. So I walk back out my truck and I start writing this letter. It's like 7 pages long. About my life story, like my struggles and everything, because he's like, yeah, you don't know what it means to struggle and all that stuff. And so I just, like everything we've been talking about, I put it down on paper. And then I went to Walmart, bought him a Bible, and God said, no, buy him this devotional too. And I went, okay. So I bought him a devotional. And then I was like, all right, I'll just walk it over because I know where he lives. And he goes, no, mail it to him. What? So not only am I buying stuff for this guy that was coming after me, you know, buying him new stuff, right? Now I'm going to spend more money on a FedEx box to ship it to his house that's got tracking on it. I was like, what? I was like, all right, well, I've always told you, it's like, if you tell me to do something, I'll do it because you understand the outcome. I don't. So I put in the box, mail it. And so like the anxiety is starting to build up, right? Because I'm like, how is this guy going to react? And oh my gosh. I kid you not. This is on a Tuesday. I'm locking up one of the houses, and I got the alert that it was delivered to his house. I know he got the box. And so I look over, and he's out there messing with his motorcycle. I had my headset on. I was like, all right, God. I was like, I'm not walking over there until you give me a signal. And I was listening to K-Love, and at that very instant, it said, no matter what you're going through, understand that God's got your back. Whether you're walking through hard times or easy times right now, God has your back. And I was like, got it. Walk on over there. Remember, last time I talked to this guy, he was waving pistols. He was pissed off. He's going to show me what fear can do and all that. I walk over there and it's like, I said his name. He looks up and he goes, hey, what's up, Stephen? And I was like, you got my box? And he goes, yeah, man, I got your box. And I said, did you read the letter? And he said, man, I had no idea. And I said, bro, I'm not mad at you at all. I said, but you judged me before you really knew me because you were angry. You thought I was blaming you for stealing my trailer. And he goes, if you just would have walked over and talked to me, it's like, I probably could have found out who did it for you because I know everybody around here. But his whole demeanor had changed. I also didn't know that he had kids in that house. And that house belonged to his grandmother who passed away that he was also angry about. And then the craziest part was he goes, you know when I got that box? I was like, no. He said, on my birthday. I was like, what?
But God.
Right?
Only God.
100%. And I was like, now I understand why you said do all this, because your timing is perfect.
Yep.
But the point is that it took the blinders off of him and myself. I didn't see him as this little thug that was just trying to like scare us, you know. I saw him as a hurt individual who was also a dad who was living in a house that he couldn't hardly afford to keep up, that he inherited from his grandmother. You know, so like I said, the blinders came off both of us because we allowed God to speak through us.
Yeah.
He allowed God by taking the time to read that letter. You know, he made himself vulnerable by reading that letter. And then he started to understand how God can work in crazy ways.
Yeah. That's a powerful story.
Yeah.
It just shows the healing that can take place if we take ourselves out of the position of wanting to point fingers, wanting to accuse, and like you said, judge at face value instead of allowing conversations like this where you can get to know someone's backstory. You know, someone might see you on one of your ads on TV and think, oh, look at this successful guy. He must have had everything handed to him. But you didn't.
And just a really fun rabbit trail. When people think, like, I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, you must have a lot of money or thing. It's like, no, I don't. It's like, I still own a renovation business. Actually, tomorrow I fly back to Colorado and I'm going back to work on stairs. But the thing, what they don't see about actors is all the auditions. You have to be great at rejection. Great at rejection, because like there's a lot of times where I'll average between 6 and say 12 auditions a week. That's just auditions. You're going through all the learning scripts, you know, different shots and all that stuff. Sometimes I'm doing it at 2:00 in the morning because they're due by 7 in the morning, and you got them that day. And then crickets. You know, you don't hear anything. It'll eat you alive if you think about it. So what I'm saying is, a lot of actors, they audition daily and might get one job from it or nothing. So if people look at other actors and like, man, they just have it all together, they don't see the struggles.
Yeah. Those are technically failures, right? You audition for something and you don't get hired.
Yeah.
There's failures.
And you don't even hear.
Yeah.
And you never even hear back. Like,
it's just ghost.
Yeah,
They ghost you.
100%. Yeah. It's like, if you don't hear anything, you just automatically assume that they book somewhere else.
So people don't see the struggle you go through. They see the finished product and they judge what they can see.
Absolutely.
And I think the point that I'm pulling from that, and that we should all pull from that, is that you never judge something by what you see at face value.
Right.
Just because you're wearing a nice suit, just because your hair looks really good, whatever people would look at you and say, they can't possibly understand.
But here's a fun fact also about the judging about the hair. I am so self-conscious about my hair. I take multiple supplements for it to keep it. When it starts shedding everything, I go through all these different procedures to keep my hair. And so people are like, oh, yeah, he's got, like, if they saw the real struggle again, it's like,
behind the curtain.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, and there's different tricks I've done over the years when I was even more thinner, using the powders, I forget what they call them. It's like that.
It's like a volumizer or something.
Yeah. It's a powder that you can match the color of your hair, and you spray it in there, and it looks, kind of helps add like texture to like thinner spots.
Yeah. Yeah, so people would look and say, "Man, he's got great head of hair. He's an actor." But they don't see the struggle of the things you've sacrificed, the things you've went through to kind of. I mean, you're an actor, so you're creating an image that people want to hire,
right?
And that it just goes into everything we've been talking about. The point is, you cannot judge people at face value because you don't see the struggle.
Absolutely, but when you learn to use those struggles as strengths, when you convert it, that's where the power comes from. When you learn how to use something that's holding you down as a strength, you take that power back. No longer does the devil have bondage over your tongue, because now you're using it for God's glory. That's the quickest way to get out of any struggle there is. Because as soon as you start having these weaknesses and everything, you say, you know what, God, I'm gonna start praising you through this moment. That's when the devil's like, oh shoot, and now he's not quiet. He's gonna use this for God's glory, then I'm gonna bail.
Yeah.
And that's what I started doing. It's like when I have different characters or roles that I take on, I just pull out of those old moments, but I also have to pray. It's like, God, when I'm tapping back into this moment, don't let this stick.
Yeah.
Because you could find yourself. That's why I don't do method acting. Method acting is super dangerous because people can't snap out of it.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, and you can fill in the gaps, but my understanding of method acting is people get in these roles where they are putting themselves in the character, on camera, off camera.
They are that character the entire process, right?
For months at a time. They don't ever snap out of it.
Right. And then their mental capacity is like they believe that they really are that because they've lived it for multiple days or months.
Yeah. I know that like the classic example is Jack Nicholson in The Shining, right? I've heard that he was method acting when Heath
Ledger.
He's hammering that axe through the door and the lady's screaming, or Heath Ledger when he's playing the Joker in Batman. It is a slippery slope, and for some people, it's maybe you can pull it off, but it, like you said, it comes with risk.
Absolutely.
Like just like everything.
Yeah.
Drinking, you can have a glass of wine and it's not going to kill you, but a glass of wine could lead to an alcoholism that could ultimately take your life.
And that can last with anything. Now with everybody's like, you should try the ketamine. Now they're having like ketamine dosages where you can call or you can sign up online for these different brands. Like they do blood testing. So they ship the test to your house. You send them a vial of your blood, and they test it, and they figure out if you're a good candidate for ketamine dosing and all that stuff, just for for less stress and all that other stuff. There's so many different ways that you can become dependent on anything nowadays, and use it as a crutch. Just because you feel like you're getting out of a struggle, but you've got to be aware. If you start something, is this going to be for the rest of your life? Just as much as I hate to say it, is like this semaglutides. All these GLP-1, all these supplements that people are like, hey, I'm going to do this to lose weight. I hate to tell you, though, once you stop taking that, the weight's going to come back unless you retrain your brain, your thinking, and start being, and not just relying on a drug.
Yeah. Being disciplined with your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Being active, eating whole foods, eating
it's
healthy.
a good way to jumpstart fat loss, which people are healthier and everything, but there's a lot of side effects to it too.
Yeah.
Because people aren't getting the nutrition that they need. What happens? Their hair starts falling out. They start having worse health. But hey, they're losing weight, because if it suppresses your diet. And when you start eating something, your stomach starts hurting. You start getting like nauseous and everything's like, okay, well, I don't want to eat now. So naturally, your body's like eating itself.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, well, but look at me, I'm losing weight. It's like, yeah, but your hair's falling out.
Yeah. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. Like, it's still a pig at the end of the day.
That's a cute pig, though.
Yeah, but you can make the pig look pretty, right?
Unless it's like my sister. She's got those coon.
I don't know what that is.
It's the ones that have that big tab hanging from their chin.
Okay, yeah.
It's so ugly, it's cute.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
But to your point, you're solving a problem, right? I'm overweight, I'm obese, but then you're creating 2 or 3 other problems.
Yeah, and that's the problem that we're living in now, too. And well, it's my opinion in the United States. Well, like the world. Everybody wants like a quick fix, but they don't really care about the repercussions with that quick fix.
Yeah.
And they don't care that, it's like, well, this is going to make me look better, or this is going to give me more likes, or whatever it is. And that's where, like I said, people see me on social media a lot. Majority of the time, I'm not posting anything. It's my agencies that I did stuff for that they're posting. They run stuff, and that's called whitelisting. They're paying me, to run through my socials. So it looks like I'm posting it. But what I was going to say is, if you look at all these social media things, it's ridiculous at how many people will watch someone get beat up and hold their phone because they want to be the person that gets all the likes and everything versus jumping in and helping someone that's getting beat down. That's where I have such a big issue with that, because it's like you don't care about anyone but yourself.
Yep.
This person, it's okay for them to get the crap beat out of them as long as you get it on recorded and put on your socials and people like it. Tap into that. You're a douchebag. You're an absolute selfish douchebag because you want to show someone else getting beat down just so you can be popular, or not popular, but people have more likes on your socials so you can feel better about yourself. Yeah. That's all it's about. And that's the world we live in now, because everybody's and it's like a lot of times if I do post something, I hide the likes because I don't even want to see it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there just for fun. Or for a product, I'm doing a review on.
Yeah. It's similar to the bullying mindset, right? When you're in 7th grade and the 8th grade or 9th grader bullies you, they are is similar to the posting thing. They're taking out an anger, or they want to look good in front of their friends. It's maybe not online.
Right.
Maybe it's just in those 3 or 4 people watching, or in the hallway at school.
Yeah.
But they're bullying you so that they could feel better about themselves. They could have clout, or they can have a social acceptance of being more powerful, strong.
Yeah.
And it's twisted because you're causing the hurt of someone else.
Oh, absolutely. And you can always pinpoint too, because if you ever watch someone that's about to get in a fight, as soon as they start looking around and seeing who's watching, that's when they get their liquid courage and everything. And it's just kind of like, oh my gosh, it's not liquid courage, but like courage, you know, because it's like they're watching, like, okay, everybody's watching me. Now I'm gonna buff up even more. I'm gonna take this to the next level.
Yeah.
And that's when, you know, it's just like it's all show, and people care more about what people think about, you know, how cool they're gonna be versus what, you know, was really going on.
Yeah.
But,
I wanted to circle back on something you mentioned a good while ago about your time in the military. Something I've learned just doing a few of these episodes now is that things that become like familiar and common to us, and it's just like mundane, it's part of my life, it is who I am, it's something I've done, they can be like interesting or profound to someone who hears it for the first time. You can go into as little or as much detail as you'd like, but like when you were a Marine in the Marine Corps, and you served in active duty, like what was that like? Where were you stationed? What kind of things did you see? I know you talked about the camp that you went to at a certain point, but what was that time like for you serving our country as someone in the military?
well, when I graduated high school, like I said, I learned, I was like, there's no way I'm going to college because I didn't think I'd make it. I was like, I'll take the summer off and then I'll go, you know, in September. So September 13th of 98, I went to boot camp in Paris Island and learned very quick about how fast they shave your head. That hurts so bad.
I can imagine. They just do and it's done.
And it's like I had hair that was about this length, and just to like shave it off, like just pulling your hair and you're bleeding everywhere. And then, because you're getting there at like 2 o'clock in the morning, you're getting yelled at, and you're like, what's going on? And they shave your head, and they put you in camis, and they give you this debit card. And you're like, why do I have a debit card? Well, when you sign up, they tell you they're going to give you a $2,500 bonus for signing up. So as a teenager, like $2,500,
that's a lot of money for a teenager.
That's awesome. I'll do that. So when you're in boot camp, they shave your head, they give you your camis, they give you this debit card. Then they're like, okay, you're going to have to go to this station, buy your hygiene gear, all this other stuff, your Go Fasters, which are your New Balance, your tennis shoes for, you know, PT. And you PT 3 times a week, you know, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 in the morning. But every week you have to clean the barn, which is your barracks. That's what they call your barn. So, I mean, it's like buying Aqua Velva. To this day, I hate Aqua Velva. So you buy Aqua Velva, cleaning supplies, all that stuff, and that they push all the racks to the center of the room. When I started, I was number 71 because I'm Zampieri. His last name is Z. I was number 71, and so you think about how many bunk beds can fit 71 recruits, basically, you know, into a big long room. And your DI, your drill instructor, he's got his room that's with glass all the way around it, so he can see you at any time. His is right next to it. But you would clean the barn every week, swiping that debit card every time you had to buy something, like your letters to home, if you want, or your stamps, all that stuff, right? And well, let me add this too. Anytime you got a package from home, your drill instructor would go through it before you did to make sure there's no contraband in there, and, you know, nothing bad and all that stuff. And he would read some of your letters just to use it as fuel. So every time you're swiping that debit card that's coming out of that $2,500, I had no idea. But when I started boot camp, I was number 71. When I graduated, I was 48.
That many people quit.
That many people either got injured or just they got kicked out because of like mental issues, or if you break a leg or arm or whatever, they put you in a med hold, and then once you're medically cleared, then you get back into it and you join the next platoon to try to graduate. But they tell you, it's like, oh, you're not going home if you quit. You're going to the jail. You're going to the brig, and you're like, what? I'm like, nuh-uh. There is no quitting. So that fear lives inside of you.
Yeah.
It's all fear driven. And you learn very on to not think, because if you say I, it's like, no, there's no I. It's like, it's this recruit. You're not a person. And
They try to break you down mentally. So
absolutely. And then they rebuild you the way they want you. That way you have that mentality of like, you can run through a steel wall if they said, run through it.
Yeah.
And it's 3 months long, and then I got out, went back home, and I was home for a month, and then went to my MOS training for school. And I was in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, which is a horrible place.
A lot of bad memories, I assume.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's just nothing there. And then after 3 months there at school, I went to Okinawa. And then I was in Okinawa for a year. And then from there, branched out and went to different places around the world.
Is that Japan, Okinawa?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I got there, actually, it was pretty bad because this was right after a Marine and two sailors had raped a local.
Oh, my gosh.
Dude, you want to talk about, I didn't understand why we had curfews. I'm like, what? We're grown men. Why do we need a curfew on a weekend? Everyone were off. And then I learned that the JPs, the Japanese police, they would carry these sticks with them. And if it was after 9 o'clock, they would come by and just beat you in the top of the head while they're driving their motorcycles and not think twice because they were all just mad, But anyways, so all kind of stuff like that happened in the Marine Corps, know.
So you leave Okinawa and you go, where would you go after that?
We went to Pohang, South Korea.
Okay.
And so we went some different areas there, and we looked at different areas that were affected by minefields and everything, because that's what I specialized in, was explosives and whatnot for the combat engineering.
Yeah. And that's land minefields or water, like in the water?
Land.
Yeah.
Land,
okay.
Yeah.
So would you defuse these
and then
bombs?
we also, we trained, we did some cross training, mountain warfare training with the Rock Marines, the Korean Marines. Those guys, man, you want to feel weak? You go on a PT run up a mountain with them, they fly. Mm-hmm. Like all of our rappelling and all that stuff. I mean, that's where we did a lot of cool stuff. But
yeah. So your specialty specifically as a combat engineer, you would diffuse explosives.
Correct.
Right? Mm-hmm. So did you ever experience that outside of a training environment, or was that strict? I know you were active duty.
We had some areas that we went into that were a little touchy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also, part of a combat engineer is we would build bridges. And build different, different, on the fly type stuff.
Yeah, structures that help the army or the military.
Yeah, and
move.
part of our training, from the beginning of it, we were like, well, this is dumb. Why are we doing this? But we would build facilities that mock areas. So, if we knew that we were going to go into a certain area, we figure out, okay, is this plaster walls? Is this cement walls? Is this rebar? Is this whatever it is? And figure out the least amount of explosives to breach these walls. But so when we went to these areas, we knew exactly what to use. But it's crazy stuff.
Yeah. Thank you again for your service.
Yeah. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
Which I will say this though, that it's rough nowadays seeing all the stuff that's going on in this world for the guys that are serving and to watch this. I'm not even joking. It's like if I was seeing all this crazy stuff that's going on now and I'm serving, I'm sitting here risking my life to protect you. And you're being an ungrateful jerk. You're thinking about yourself and everything you do, but yet I'm putting my life on the line to protect you. Just so you could do what? Have no accountability?
Play Fortnite and post videos.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It just, that's another way I see everything that's going on in this world too. And it's just kind of it's so frustrating because people don't see how selfish they are and how the entitlement has taken over their mentalities.
Yeah. It reminds me, I've had a conversation with an old mentor of mine. He's a worship pastor. That's been his life. And we had a good conversation, but one thing he shared with me is that so much benefit, which is essentially what you're saying, so much benefit would happen to our society, to us, if we would take our eyes off of ourselves and put it on our environment, put it on God. When we shift our focus outwardly, it provides opportunity for healing, for restoration. I mean, think about the Instagram, social media world we live in. We're so consumed with posting ourselves and comparing ourselves to
because
other people.
The endorphins.
Yep.
It releases those endorphins of ooh, someone likes me, someone appreciates me, someone thinks I'm funny, someone thinks I'm good looking, someone thinks this.
I'm successful.
Yeah, right? And then so they feed off of that. Even though it's not reality, it's a stupid post. People, and that's the other thing, there's people, they're filters. Like, I don't post anything with filters ever because it's not the real you. Someone's going to see you in real life. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's not what you look like online.
Yikes. Yeah, it's a lot different. Yeah. I mean, that's the reality we live in. People want to give you all this false hope. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care if you think I'm a good-looking dude. I don't care if you think I'm an ugly guy. It doesn't matter if you think I'm successful or not. Because my value doesn't come from what you think about me.
So powerful.
And the thing is, like, if I put my value in what you think about me, I don't even know who I am then. Because I'm not living for myself. I'm living for you. And that's when I start saying, it's like, God, open my eyes, peel the blinders off my eyes if I ever get like that. And he's pinpointed certain things before, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm sorry. I forgive me. Because there are times where you catch yourself and you're traveling the country and like, oh, look, there you're on TV. That's cool. And it can, for a split second, go to your head and like, yeah, that's cool. Because you look around like people are like, oh, that's you. But then I found myself getting really humiliated to the point where now I get embarrassed and people recognize me. And it's the weirdest thing because it happened at the airport. Someone's like, you look really familiar. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm just one of those guys that have one of those faces. Yeah. And they're like, no, you're that guy from that Haverty's commercial. And I was like, oh, yeah. And they're like, that's so fun thing. And anyways, so like, can we take a picture? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm like, I'm nobody. It's like that. I do it because I enjoy it, because being a contractor, owning a remodeling business, I have 3 herniated discs in my lower back and a vacuum disc where it goes the other way. Because I clipped a rock, doing rappelling, and then we had a bunch of night jumps, and then just like hitting wrong over the years and all kind of crazy stuff. But I've owned a remodeling business, including kitchen tune-up. I've been in the industry since 2003. So 23 years. Yeah. And so I love it because I'm a hands-on guy, and I used to have cards, but I got way too busy, and I'm all word of mouth now. I just let my product, let my skill set like speak for itself, and my subs all know the same thing because I only hire the subs that take pride in their work as well, and majority of them are believers. And that also is another relatability thing. So for clients, you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like I feel comfortable around it because I know, people are going to be here cussing and doing all their stupid stuff. Because most of the time people have little kids and everything. And sometimes we work until 9 o'clock at night.
So you're there with the families in their homes.
Yeah. A lot of times, sometimes they'll say, hey, we're going on vacation. Here's the keys to the house. And, just make sure it's all locked up because, it's a lot of in and out. It's a lot of dust and all that stuff. Even when you put plastic up, you still got dust. It
finds its way into the HVAC system.
Oh, Lord.
Somehow.
Yeah. Then I got to pay my HVAC guys to clean it all out. But the point is that over the years, like I said, I love hands-on stuff. I mean, like I said, I can't be a hand model, because I've had so many broken fingers and my hands are all jacked up. This last shoot 2 days ago for Cuisinart. I mean, they're like, we're going to do close up of your hands. And I was like, do you want a hand double? I have one. You can call them. And they started laughing like, no, we need real hands. It's like, we want your hands to look imperfect. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But the point is that when I do tile and I do stuff on the floor, because I'm a master tiler as well. And so when I do all these decorative tile on the floor or steam showers or all these intricate stuff that I'm bent over a long time or for long periods of time, sometimes I can't stand up. Like if that nerve in my back starts flaring up, and there's been times where I had to tell clients like, hey, I'm literally laying on the floor at my own house, for 2 days because I can't, not to get too graphic, but even sitting on the freaking toilet, it was super painful.
The wear and tear just takes its toll over time.
Yeah, because the nerves are flared up, they're aggravated and everything. And then, so that's when I was like, you know what? As much as I love doing renovations, I need another outlet. I need another way to have an income coming in so I can support my family and my kids and everything. And so I was like, well, you know what? I enjoyed, because I grew up in musical theater as well, with YWAM and with missionary groups and all that stuff. And so that's when I just reached out to an agency, like a small little boutique agency. And I was like, hey, how do I get involved with this? And she goes, well, do headshots and all that stuff. And so that's when I learned, it's like, if you don't have a headshot, no one's ever going to look at you. Oh, but I can take a picture with my camera? No, you need a professional headshot. I was like, okay.
With color grading. And
Yeah. So I had that done, and then I got booked for a couple of like little smaller commercials and stuff like that. I was like, okay, I can do this. And then another agency saw it. They reached out and like, hey, do you want to audition for ours? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then it just started snowballing. So now I have 4 agencies that I work with. And that's why I travel all over the country. And then I have international stuff and, and local stuff as well.
I remember last year when we met on the film shoot of, you were doing a commercial for a company I used to work for. And it was in between takes. They were taking the gear down, setting it up somewhere else. And we were just talking in that kitchen for 30 minutes. And I was just hearing your life story, kind of a condensed version of everything we've been talking about today. Yeah. And I just thought, it's so cool that you were able to reinvent yourself, even if you're still kind of in limbo. You're still doing some remodeling. You're still doing some acting. I thought it was so unique that you decided in the middle of your life, like, hey, I want to do something different. And you did that. I might even go as far as say maybe 5 to 10% of that inspired me to start this podcast. Just like, I've worked jobs, I've worked careers, I've worked traditional 9-to-5s, and I just felt like I was always in the wrong seat on the wrong bus. And so my question to you, which is coming from a place of personal interest, but probably someone might relate to it as well, is what would you say is the biggest tip you would give to someone who's trying to pivot into voiceover work or acting or modeling or...
For the love of God, do all the voiceover.
The type of
I
work.
hate voiceover.
Yeah.
It's because I struggle to talk sometimes, and so it's just like... Then again, I'm like, did I have a mild stroke and didn't know it? But no, you're never too old to try new things, and that's not just a stupid little saying either. My thing is, I'm more of an entrepreneur. I'm a go-getter. I'm always trying to figure out how to make money coming in, and because I'm terrified to fail, and that's the biggest thing. Is like, and I don't want to fail, but if I fail, hey, I learned. You know what? I want to try it different this time. And that's why even with owning a renovation business, it's when it's snowing outside, now I'm a snowplow dryer, a snow remover, not plow driver. I almost did the plowing and I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. So then I was removing snow for $65 per driveway, and
You're
then,
a hustler.
Yeah. And then in the fall, I'm aerating yards, I'm dethatching, doing all those stuff. And people are like, I just called around like, hey, how much y'all charge? Okay, fine. I'll just undercut you $20.
You're hustling.
You're right. Yeah.
You're doing it.
And so the next thing I know, I was like, there's all kind of ways to make money. And then that's when UGCs kicked up. And I learned that it's like, wait a minute, I can get products sent to my house. And all these ads I'm seeing online are shot by essentially actors from their own house. That's crazy. And so you start off, with a very low budget. And then the more you're established, then these other companies start reaching out, and then you get retainers, and then you get, a lot more money coming in.
Yeah.
But the point is that there's so much money to be made, but people, I don't know if they're looking for it or they just don't know how to look for it. Because it's just irritating when you see these people like, I've tried everything, I just can't make money. You didn't try everything.
Yeah.
You just got self-pity party.
You're not failing enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Because failure teaches you a lot about yourself.
You've probably failed way more than you've succeeded in life.
Oh my gosh, I fail weekly. Are you kidding me? Like I said, this last week I had 9 auditions, and then I'll look at when the callback is and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, well, 2 of the callbacks were yesterday. But I guess I didn't get that.
Yeah. On to the next one.
Yeah, and a lot of the time too is like if you are in acting, then it's not you per se. It's they liked your image, but then the way your mannerisms are or like how you're delivering lines, it's like, well, we want something a little bit older or, your grays aren't playing enough or you have too many grays or whatever it is. That's why they want videos of you. Yeah. And they don't book off just headshots.
Yeah.
And then past experiences. Because, I have a lot of my reels on my profile that they can look at and everything.
Yeah. And you make a good point. Like when these companies are looking for a certain... really it's a talent. They're looking for the talent on camera. Yeah. They want a certain thing. They have a certain thing in mind. And so it could be there's nothing wrong with you.
No, and people take it personal.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, I botched it or whatever. And it's like, no, you just didn't fit the demographic of what they want. They wanted an exact look and an exact delivery of certain things. And it's like, okay, well, love your look, but it's just kind of like we need someone who looks a little bit older or younger, whatever.
Or talks a little differently, or doesn't have this mannerism.
Yeah,
that's a good way to look at it because it is It's a game of rejection, as you mentioned earlier.
You have to be good with rejection.
And if you can't overcome that.
And that's why people bail on it. That's why, I mean, like even, there's like, I'm not a professional model by any means. I'm a paid model. And I do a lot of like golf shoots and all that other stuff. And there's been times where I've had callbacks, and you stand in front of these executives and they judge you up and down. And it's kind of like, oh my gosh, it's like, what are they going to see? Are they going to like it or they're not? And then some of you book, some of them are kind of like, okay, well, thank you. And we're going to go a different route. And it's kind of like, ugh, but all it teaches me is like, what? Monitor what you eat, monitor what you drink. And, don't morph into what they want. Still be yourself.
Yeah.
But, but it shows me it's like, okay, I might be lacking in like my stomach area. Like start working out my stomach more or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Because I did catch myself multiple times trying to be someone I wasn't just so I can get certain roles.
What do you mean by that?
So, there was one role that it was a very high-end CEO, and I get booked for a lot of CEO roles. And
you look the part,
the CEO roles, doctor roles, and they call them the elevated dad looks. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I get a lot of. And so there was one where it was a little out of my realm. It was kind of pushing my limits, but that's where kind of method came in a little bit. And I caught myself early on because I became a staunch butthole, because it was
to
just
play
like,
the CEO role.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Because he was a CEO of a resort. And then so I caught myself like just naturally gravitating toward it during the week, even with my own kids. I was very snooty. I was kind of like, no, don't talk to me like that. Don't do that. No, you're not doing that. It was like no personality, just like cut dry, no emotions and everything. And after a while, I was like, oh my gosh.
It was bleeding over into your personal life.
Yeah. And I had to apologize to my kids. And like, I'm sorry. It's like, no, it's okay, Dad.
Yeah.
It's like you have hard times sometimes, like we all do.
Yeah.
But I am a dad who, like I said, I learned from my dad how not to be. So to this day, I still cuddle my kids, and I kiss my boys and I tell them I love them all the time. And I'll do that till the day I die. But I learned how important it was for a father to look at their kid dead in the eyes and say, you okay, bud? It's like, how's your day? Oh, it's good. And then like, no, wait, there's something else there. And my 12-year-old who's going through the hormone changes and all that stuff, that emotional roller coaster.
I remember
and
that.
Working on kicking. He plays tackle football.
Okay.
And so he doesn't come off the field. He plays both sides. And he's the kicker because he just dominates the sport. Both of my boys do. My 10-year-old is playing club soccer and he's the second tier.
Wow.
And so I'm not going to lie, I was a little selfish. I was like, I hope you don't get it because I don't want to travel. Because, at this age, man, it's like when they get that club soccer, and it's kind of like, holy
it can be
smokes.
year-round in a lot of places.
It's $1,000. It's basically what I figured out is it's going to be about $1,000 per game, the ones that are out of town.
Wow.
And it's kind of like, holy smokes.
Is it out of state or is it?
It's in state. It's traveling. There's a couple that are out of state, but I'm like, you're only 10 years old. Why? There's plenty of local teams you can lose to. Why do we have to go out of state or like so far away? You know? And I get, they're trying to challenge them in different ways and different skill levels and all that stuff. But I'm like, oh my gosh. But again, it's not about me. It's about investing in my kids, showing them how amazing they are. And he worked his butt off. He went through the tryouts that were multiple weeks long, performed for all these different coaches in different positions, and even as goalie and everything. And then they're the ones that said, hey, we want you on this team. Same thing with River. When it comes to tackle football, he's only been playing for like 2 years now, but his coaches, I mean, they love him. And because he's a very humble kid, he's the gentle giant. He's 12 years old, 133 pounds, and he's 5'3".
Wow.
He's 90 percentile for height and weight.
Yeah.
And the thing is that now he's starting to understand his body's changing. And so he's getting a little timid when it comes to that area. And so that's when dads need to start speaking up to their kids. I'm like, bud, You're awesome. You're a beast. And then I started telling him, like, come work out with me. And part of it's my fault too, is because I haven't been like, hey, come to the gym with me. Come work out. And he's like, we have a gym in the basement. We can work out. I was like, no, we need to step away from the house. Because that's what my wife will do. She'll work out because I have a treadmill and a bike and all the gym stuff there. But I need to remove myself. That way I can zone out. That's my time of just like reset. That's when I put on my praise and worship. Sometimes it's Christian rap.
Oh yeah, I do some Christian rap too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
Coming in hot.
Dax.
Andy Mineo,
yeah, Dax is awesome.
Yeah.
But anyways, so to say, but learning to relate to your kids when they're struggling and to take the focus off yourself should be the same mentality you have for your entire life with other people. When we stop looking at other people like kids and we start seeing them as jerk adults and forget that they were once kids at once, you start seeing people in different ways. And that's what I try to live my life the same. It's like the way I look at my kids, I try to look at other adults the same way because they were kids, you know, whether they're hurt, whether they're scars or whatever it is. And so I don't see people as harsh as I would if I just saw them as an adult that was just a thug or a punk or someone that's just all about themselves.
Yeah. It widens your perspective. I wanted to ask you, coming from everything you went through with the trauma, with growing up in an abusive household, with a dad who was an alcoholic, seeing that example of what not to be, and then pivoting your life as a husband, as a father, into how to be a godly parent, raising kids in a godly home, being a place where they can come to for security, for stability, for consistency.
Yeah.
There's 100, but what's the one thing that you would say is like, this was the thing that I would say is the most important for applying a godly household, for training your kids in a way that is completely different than the way you grew up, free of the fear and the anxiety and the turmoil? Like, what one practical thing have you done? It could be with how you actually parent your kids, or it can be something that switched for you internally that you changed from what you saw from your own father. What's that one thing that you would say moved the needle the farthest into being the parent, the dad that you never had?
It's a hard question, but first and foremost, I have to be a disciplinarian. I have to discipline my kids. They have to see the consequences. If kids aren't taught there's consequences later or early on in life, they're never going to see it when they're older. It's not going to stick. It's not going to register. That's why there's sometimes my kids have friends over and we'll talk about spankings or whatever, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh no." So I was like, "Well, that's why you're that way." But the truth is, like I said, but if I ever have to discipline my kids, it's always I sit down and talk to them. Like, I would never be ugly toward my kid when I'm disciplining them, because it's not about fear. It's about correction. It's about telling them, hey, dad loves you so much. You can do so much better than this, but there's absolutely consequences. And I think that's stuck with a lot of, and like for River especially, he's very gentle, very timid sometimes. And sometimes I can just like raise my voice slightly and he just balls, Sloan, on the other hand, he's my social butterfly. He's Mr. Popular. He's in national commercials with me as well.
Okay.
And so, he's like, his friends will see him on TV and they're like, oh, and then it's gotten to his head.
Yeah. So how do you correct that? Like, he's in a position of elevated status with his peer group because of his dad, who's an actor. Yeah. How do you encourage the fun experience, but also curate the disciplined, not spoiled brat version of your son, making him the best version he can be? How do you do that?
There's been times where an agent's reached out to me like, hey, would you and your son like to? And then I'll tell him, I was like, hey, bud, we have this opportunity, but I'm not going to do it. But why? I said, because this last time that you were on TV and your friends saw it, you got very arrogant. You became rude to me, mom. You're yelling at me, yelling at mom. We're not doing that. So I'm not going to let you keep on doing this stuff if you can't learn to manage it. Just because you're on TV doesn't mean you're any more special than any other kid. That just means that you got lucky. You got lucky. You're getting paid to go have fun on TV. That doesn't mean that you're Mr. Celebrity that can, do whatever you want. I know there's such a fine line when it comes to like disciplining kids too.
Yeah, but no, that's a good illustration because you gave him something special. He abused it, even though he might not have the emotional regulation and maturity to understand he abused it.
Yeah, and kids don't, and and they don't really see it until later on in life. That's why all these kids that want to make decisions about, I had a hard upbringing at this when I was a male, and now I want to become a female because life will be different if I'm more feminine. And it's like all you're doing is lying to yourself. You're running away from your problem, thinking that, if I'm this way, then maybe everything's going to change. Versus just dealing with the problem and then getting past it and moving on with your life, using it for strength. Yeah.
And there's always a strong emphasis on other people accepting me for transgenders. I know we've hit it a couple times today, but it is a prevalent issue in our society that we would probably both agree is not healthy. No. Saying I want to be someone else, you're seeking
it's mental deception.
It is. And you want the acceptance of the environment of your own view of yourself.
But the problem is they want acceptance from other people because they don't accept themselves. If you are that way, and this is going to get really bad, but anyways, this is the truth. If you are that way, if you were born that way, why in the world do you need a whole month to celebrate it? Why in the world do you need to put it in my face and ask me if I accept it or not? Why do you need me to justify how you think you are? If you really are that way, then you wouldn't be reaching out to people. And if you really are about love, then you wouldn't be coming at me and like trying to attack me because I'm a heterosexual and and I believe in male is with a female, female is with a male. That's where I have the biggest issue when I'll say love is love. Love is not love. Love is telling the truth. If you can't tell someone that what they are, if you're a male or female, how is that me loving you? It's not. It's me lying to you to make you feel better. Yeah. But again, it's feeding into the manipulation of like, you can be who you want to be. That's okay. Yeah. You can to an extent, but not when it comes to lying yourself about the physics of you are only this or this.
Yeah. So I guess, looking at everything you've been through, where you're at now, you're looking at the rest of your life, success, legacy. How do you define success in this era of life? What do you use to measure against, like, I guess maybe like a benchmark for being successful and creating a legacy for your family, for yourself, and
being able to pay my bills?
Yeah, that's a good practical answer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's like the world's always evolving. So is how you can make money. Like in a good way, not in a bad way. But success for me is just like being able to go home and not be overwhelmed by bills and stuff like that, which I still do. I mean, we all have debt, but success is like learning to take your past weaknesses and turn them as a strength. To me, that's my biggest success is stop letting bondage that used to bound my tongue and make me bashful to turn into being bold and using it for God's glory. Taking the power away from the devil. Because when you bite your tongue and you don't share your story, people don't know that. People are always asking like, well, how can you prove God's real? How can you prove Jesus, or how can you prove Jesus is real? If I bite my tongue and don't share my story, then how do they know? Versus a preacher on the corner that's going to throw a Bible at you, then you're like, well, no, I'm good with that, And a lot of people too, they'll say, well, I went to a church and they're this way, and that's not for me. You can say that about people. I hung out with this guy and he was a jerk. So, I don't want to be with the guys anymore. I don't want to hang out with guys. Not everything's the same.
Yeah. It's different. Just to touch on that, when you're translating your passion, belief, identity, and believing in God, when it comes from a personal transformation, I could have been an alcoholic father that beat my own kids the way I was beat, the way my dad was an alcoholic.
I could have manifested the anger that I grew up with.
Yeah.
And said, what, it was done to me, so I'm going to do it to you. And that's justifying that it's okay to get away with it. It's not. But again, that's a lie. That's what people tell themselves to feel better about their actions. Yeah. When it's not the truth. People, they use certain things. Like I said, I could have used it as, to justify any kind of actions later on in life. Yeah.
You chose to separate yourself from it and turn the tables.
But again, learn to take the challenges and turn them into strengths.
Yeah. Stephen, thank you for being here.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
I loved our conversation.
Yeah.
You definitely gave me some thoughts worth holding on to.
Good.
I wanted to ask before we go, do you have one final point of resonation, something you'd want to share, a takeaway from anything we talked about, something you leave with me if we never get to see each other again? Hopefully we do, but if we never cross paths again, what's one thing that you would that stands out to you that you'd share with me? To leave with me.
I would say learn to use your struggles for strengths. The very thing that's destroying your life, you actually have power over it. You're the only one that's in charge of your emotions. No one else can control your emotions but you. Don't let your emotions control your life. Learn to grab those emotions, say, God, if there is a God, show me. Show me what's going on. How are these emotions dictating how I feel every day? And my life is getting flipped upside down. Take the power away from the devil. Live in strength. And quote, say, God, it's like, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. My favorite verse is, for I know the plans I have for you, plans for good, not for evil, plans to give you a future and a hope. Do you know how many times I've had to say that out loud for the devil to hear? Because the devil can't read my thoughts. That's why God's word says, speak life, not death. Because when you speak life, he hears you, he runs. If it's like, oh, I do pray in my head, it doesn't do any good. The devil can't read your thoughts.
Yeah.
So take control over the devil, over all of his evil plans of your life. Speak out loud, speak truth, speak life, and watch how your life just transforms.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can be notified every week when we launch new episodes. I'll see you then.